Coming up tonight, David Jason stars in unmissable brand new Frost at 9. Back to this afternoon on ITV1, and we're live in Italy.
Formula One on ITV, sponsored by Toyota.
Champion Michael Schumacher again, Juan Pablo Montoya, man on a mission, or the Iceman Kimi Raikkonen. The holder won't go quietly.
Surely this is going to be provisional pole for Michael Schumacher.
No problem about that. He goes fast as he's very pleased with that lap. And the punch of the fist was a message to his rival Juan Montoya, and it said, go on then, beat that if you can.
And Montoya couldn't. The President Montezemolo and the champion share a cuddle. It's the top two up front on the first row at Monza, home of the Italian Grand Prix. Hello, good afternoon. What a great sporting scenario. Michael Schumacher arriving in Ferrari country after being lapped last time out in Hungary. Juan Pablo Montoya, ever present on the podium since Monaco back in June. And the super cool Finn, Kimi Raikkonen, both breathing down his neck. A single racing error or breakdown, the title could be gone. It's pole sitter Schumacher then by 1 from Montoya. He won a Grand Prix for the first time here a couple of years ago. Then Raikkonen, very confident with his strategy this afternoon. Ralf Schumacher, though, he is right out of the title picture. Not racing this afternoon. He's replaced by test driver Marc Genet at Williams. Ralf Schumacher complaining of headaches in the wake of a big testing crash here last week. Alonso, Hungary winner, on the back row this afternoon. Barrichello riding shotgun for Michael Schumacher. And Trulli's qualified really well for his home Grand Prix. The constructors, that's a very competitive three-way contest too. BMW Williams leading for the first time this year. Ferrari just 8 behind. McLaren Mercedes very much in the frame too. Lower down, those 5 teams squabbling for 5th place. Mark Blundell and Tony Jardine with me in our leafy little enclosure. Even before qualifying yesterday, Tony, you went for Michael Schumacher for the championship again.
Well, I've just reinforced that view simply because after Hungary and all the embarrassment, the Ferrari president, Luca Di Montezemolo, said this cannot happen again. Corriere della Sera said Ferrari in crisis. They've thrown everything at that car. Bridgestone have helped. 2,000 tyres between Michelin and Bridgestone tested here last week in testing alone. You know, resource.
You're a Montoya man, but you're looking towards Schumacher as well for the title finally.
I'm going to agree with Tony. I'm still going to go with Schumacher because he's got the experience, 5 times world champion. The team knows how to win the world championship. But watch Montoya. Yes, I'm a big fan of him, and he's always got that sparkle, unpredictable. Right, let's review qualifying too. Marc Genet, the Spaniard, coming in very, very late for Ralf Schumacher and doing himself a power of good, Tony.
Well, he had a late call. He had this wake-up call. He put the phone down again, and it was actually Dickie Stanford, the team manager, saying, oh, you're on duty. So the second call, he sprang out of bed, and look at the job that he did. absolutely tremendous. First at the time, but he ended up in that 5th place on Montoya, and the team approved of that. And he had big catch-up to play because he hadn't driven on Friday.
First pit stop will be a big moment for Marc Genet. How about Fernando Alonso, the young driving darling of Spain, winner in Hungary last time out? What a contrast here, though.
It's the highs and lows of Formula One, isn't it? I mean, yeah, he was the winner in Hungary. He comes here and he's on the back of the grid. He's got a big task ahead of him, but not down to him. And to give him his due there, he went into the chicane here, turns in first qualifying lap, boom, round he's going to go. He's got no traction control. He's trying to put 800 odd horsepower down onto the ground, no electronics to help him. That's his lap ruined. A little bit confusing for me. I thought he might have just pulled in and actually made the most of that extra fuel on board for the race, but he didn't do it. He continued.
What did you make of Michael Schumacher's performance in qualifying too then?
Outstanding. I mean, World Championship stuff. The guy just put this lap together. It was perfect. You know, you just watched him. It was so thrilling to watch. And he knew before he even got to the line that this was a lap which was going to be tough to beat. And no matter who was going to go out and who was left, nobody was going to beat this guy.
Yeah, big punch from Michael Schumacher and celebrations from the President Montezemolo as well. Thumbs up at the moment then, Ferrari, but the challengers will have nothing of that. 2 challengers, Raikkonen and Montoya.
Well, as I've said, you know, as long as they give us a great scrap, the 3 of them, we'll all be very happy. But Montoya said he knew when he went to the first bend of the 3 in the Ascari that he ran wide, that he'd lost it at that moment. He's saying some have gone for top speed, others have gone for downforce. I think he's referring to Ferrari in the top speed. He said, we'll see what happens. Kimi, on the other hand, and McLaren are saying, well, you know, that's not a bad position. We're in good shape. Remember, we're much better in the race. They've got a revamp for the Mercedes engine. And I think Kimi did a very good job. His qualifying lap was actually his fastest of the weekend.
Always drives right on the limit, does Kimi Raikkonen. Great scenario then, Tony. The big 2 on the front row, chat us through the grid.
Well, it's the first pole for Michael Schumacher for 8 races. What timing, Michael. Brilliant. Montoya on the wrong side, but the right side for the first chicane from 2nd place. Barrichello 3rd. He was 1st here last year. Kimi says you can win from the 2nd row of the grid at Monza. Then we've got Genet, super sub, the Spaniard, stepping in for Ralf Schumacher. Great job from him, and truly very happy with the revamped Renault engine. Button, smooth and fast, both BARs in the top 10. Coulthard cautious a little bit and paid the price again in 8th place. Panis there in 9th, overcome electrical problems. Villeneuve in the top 10 with the Honda engine. Webber's got to nurse those rear tyres today with the Jaguar. And then Cristiano De Matta, he also made a mistake at Ascari. Fisichella, a rare trouble-free day, but a great lap from him in 13th. 14th, Frentzen, he's won here in 1999. Wilson said he's happy with his position considering Jaguar strategy. We'll see what that is. Heidfeld a whole half a second slower than Frentzen. Verstappen pushed hard for 17th. Baumgartner is in for Ralph Furman, and that's the 2nd race for the Hungarian. Chiesa save of the day. He rescued a big slide at Ascari, and Alonso was spun down to 20th position after that electrical glitch.
We had a few problems with the car, but the handling wasn't perfect, but suddenly we found it for the qualifying, and so it's the best lap time what we have done so far this week, and I'm pretty happy with it.
The house is going to be full and everyone is going to be watching the TV as well. I tell you, I mean, I'm not going to go sleeping thinking, oh, should I help here or there. I'm going to wake up tomorrow thinking that I have a car of winning the race. What it has to be, only God knows. But I will put my best performance in order to try to win the race.
Well, I think I got a really good car for tomorrow, and you know, it's not like we're P10 or anything. You know, we're right there, half a tenth off, and you know we could have been quicker, and we should have a really good race car.
It's a big relief for everyone in the team who has put a lot of effort into this challenge, and it has been a big challenge. We have been not maximizing our opportunities in the recent races, and we have worked very hard on that to do so, and here we are.
3rd Monza pole for Michael Schumacher, 3 times a Monza winner as well. Mercifully, Monza has been left alone, still the fastest track of them all. They go at full throttle for around 70% of each lap. Top average speed will be close to 150 miles an hour. You've got to ride those chicanes perfectly as well. Hop on board now. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari with Martin Brundle.
Let's Look at career pole position number 55 for Michael Schumacher in Formula 1. He was the fastest man at the end of this straight at 227 miles per hour, and he brakes 120 metres before the corner. A new rumble strip on the right to deter them from taking too much concrete on the inside, and away he goes. That worked well. Curva Grande, well over 200 miles an hour then, before they bring it to the right-hand side for a slightly bumpy braking area into a shady second chicane. Watch this. Loads of curve. The car starts to bounce from the second one. He has to hesitate slightly on the outside. Traction control holding him back. So far, pretty good. First Lesmo, lots of speed on the way through. That worked supremely well. Second Lesmo working well too. He started this lap with scruff front tyres and brand new rears. Now finally the balance is absolutely perfect. Over 210 miles an hour into the slightly blind Ascari. Got on the power very early. Not a hint of a throttle lift, just a bit of traction control kicking in as he edges it to the left-hand side. Just one corner to go then. The Parabolica, it can all be won and lost into this corner. Brake at 100 metres, then let the car run to the outside. Ride that white line. You know you're safe if you stay slightly to the right of it. And shortcut for the straightest route to that start-finish line. He's crossed it and he knows it's a brilliant lap.
Brilliant lap indeed, Michael Schumacher, the only man in the 120s in qualifying. What about his brother Ralph? Let's see how he's getting on. Get an update from Williams' Sam Michael. Here he is with Ted.
Well, Sam, how is Ralph? Have you spoken to him recently?
Yeah, I spoke to him last night. He's fine, and he's just going to stay at home and recover and make sure that he's fit enough for the next Grand Prix. But he's in good spirits, and basically because of how he felt yesterday morning, we decided not to run him.
I mean, obviously his championship is over for this year. Is he gutted about that?
I think so, but it was a tall order from where he was anyway. But really, this obviously put the final nail in the coffin for his sort of championship hopes. So yeah, obviously he's very disappointed about it. But at the end of the day, he wants to make sure that he can do the best job for the Constructors' Championship, which is still important to him.
Will he be back for Indianapolis?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Sam.
Delighted to hear that, because there has been a bit of doubt in that Williams team whether Ralph Schumacher would be okay for the race at Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time. How about his brother Michael Schumacher, just leading the championship back here on pole at Monza? It has been a very long time, though, since Michael Schumacher has led a Grand Prix. 327 laps, in fact, stretching back to the Canadian Grand Prix in June, since the rest have been behind the 5-times world champion. Perhaps, though, to get him back in the winning groove, one of Ferrari's sponsors set up a special race, and Louise Goodman was very much involved.
Early in the Monza race weekend, and conditions were perfect for a motor race. The track was slightly smaller and the pit lane rather less frantic than usual, but the competition promised to be just as hot. As the race start approached, the tension began to build, whilst the competitors waited to see who'd made it onto the grid.
Louise Goodman, ITV.
I've made the team. Gotta go meet my teammates. OK, we may have been a rather motley crew of international journalists, but there was no lack of enthusiasm, and our team captain had all the right credentials.
So what's our tactics team?
So I don't know. He is the king of the tactics.
Yeah. I will reserve. I will stay behind Rubens, so that I let them feel confident, and then you take over to beat them up. Okay.
Well, these are the meaty machines that we're going to be racing. It's got a lawnmower engine in it, apparently, so it must have all of about 5 miles an hour. I get 2 laps of the track, and I have to stop off en route, pick something up, and make sure I bring it back with me.
Michael and Rubens took the first stint on the track to show us how it should be done. Rubens was quick off the line, but a cheeky overtaking manoeuvre put the right man back up front before too long. Then it was time for my turn, and a helping hand from the maestro saw me safely on my way. Clearly impressed by my speed and finesse. Check out that cornering. Halfway through the race, and by this time we were well into the lead.
Well done. Nice bit of tactical thinking there, boss. How's it going? We're doing all right? Yeah. Pleased with the way it's going? Yeah.
It was all looking pretty good, in fact, as the professionals climbed aboard for the final lap. Obviously too good for Rubens' liking.
That's very mean of you, Rubens. I thought you were a good brave sportsman.
Thank you very much. It's underway.
We're still beating you.
Not even his sabotage could keep us down. The drama continued right up to the checkered flag, but there were no team orders this time. A winning start to Monza weekend for Schumacher, but will it continue?
Another bit of silverware to add to the collection.
A very competitive lady indeed, our Louise, but if you think Michael Schumacher's got what it takes to claim the trophy again, we want you to let us know. Text us on 86188, and if you think Michael Schumacher will win again, text GPA. If Montoya is your man, text GPB, and if Raikkonen is your choice, text GPC, and we'll give you the result a bit later. As always, be sure to keep in touch via the very popular ITV F1 website and let us know your thoughts and questions during the Italian Grand Prix. And I must tell you, at 12:30 this Wednesday lunchtime, you can chat live to Martin, and Mark is all set to respond on Ask the Team. Some famous dramatic characters around down there on the grid, and Ted Kravitz has found a few of them.
Well, two gentlemen, no strangers to drama. How does the theatre of a Grand Prix add up?
It was great. I mean, the amount of adrenaline. I think we've been riding bikes for the last 4 days, and so we've been having our adrenaline shots. And this whole place is full of adrenaline. I mean, it's very exciting. Getting more so, you can feel it, I'm sure, as we get nearer the start. And I want to be down here in the pits during the race because I think that's where it really happens. I don't much care for watching. It doesn't mean much to me, but seeing the guys here. Getting that car in and out as fast as possible. I'm really looking forward to that.
Dennis? Obviously, easy rider it ain't, but you're biking down here, aren't you?
We did over 1,000 miles. We started in Munich, went to Salzburg, Austria, dipped down into Italy, went up to San Moritz, down to Lake Como, finally got here. It was an incredible ride. Heroic.
Lawrence, have you been involved in this as well, and who are you rooting for this afternoon?
What? No. Yeah, the ride was fantastic, and I've never even watched a Formula One race, so I'm just thrilled to be here, and I'm just excited to hear the sound of these cars as they blaze up and down the track, really.
So come on then, let's have a prediction for the winner from both of you. Well, Jeremy, first of all.
We have to hope that BMW.
We have to say that
Williams do it.
It's the bikes, brother. Yeah. We're behind them.
Okay, well, gentlemen, have a very good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Ralph is not driving, and that the test driver is driving. That gives it an edge of excitement.
Test driver's hungry, so.
Three biking heroes there, Irons, Hopper and Fishburne, and Lawrence is a lot better with a script, isn't he? Well, it never rains here at Monza on race day. It did pour down last night though, but a lovely day today. Last year those Ferraris really romping home in a canter. This year though, it is very serious business. Absolutely beautiful day here at Monza, 23 degrees and blue skies as well. We're meeting the BAR team throughout the weekend. Both drivers, Jenson Button and Jacques Villeneuve, are in the top 10. We're going to take a look at their different driving techniques very shortly. But first, a spot of hospitality in the BAR motorhome. Louise Goodman joining Jenson and his physio, Phil Young, for a chat over dinner.
So you come here often, do you?
Often? Yeah, every couple of weeks. Too often.
Do you eat at the motorhome a lot?
Yeah, I do. Either here or at my motorhome.
Yeah.
I don't normally go out that often. Boring. Boring me.
That's easier, practical though, isn't it?
It is. It's easy, and I normally go to bed quite early as well. Now and again, I go out for something to eat. But,
I suppose it depends where you are. If you're in Monaco, then...
and you know we have things to do in the evenings as well, like sponsor things and stuff, so it's a little bit hectic. But if I do, I'll just go for something to eat with the missus, or Monk, or the old man is around sometimes, or DC. Yeah, loads of people.
Do you get with David as well?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Normally on Saturday evenings for the race.
I suppose your motorhomes parked together, aren't they? So
Yeah.
if you're...
We actually had a barbecue at Manicourt, all three of us, which I was shocked
Did
at. Jacques organised a barbecue.
Did he?
Yeah, which I was shocked.
Oh, thank you very much.
Lovely, thanks. That looks lovely, Mum.
Have you eaten already?
It doesn't actually look that lovely, but
It
does actually.
I saw here about you modelling underpants.
I've been modelling underpants, yes.
How did that come about?
It was through management, do management, and that sounded like a cool idea. It was a cool brand, and the stuff looked really good. So I thought I'd give it a go.
What did Lou think of it?
She hasn't seen any of it yet, because I couldn't speak to her because she was doing that funny thing in that house. So I didn't see her, and but she thinks it's great. She's seen one of the pictures which is in the newspaper. Which I thought I looked a bit skinny, but she said it looked alright, so I'm happy.
Is it nice to have her back?
Yeah.
I just think it is. You missed her when she was
big
gone,
time.
didn't you? It was like someone cut your arm off.
The worst thing is now, I've been away for 6 weeks, which is tough. But now I know I could see her. It's even more difficult because I'm racing and she's doing her own thing. Lou arrived today, this morning, to watch practice and everything. So it's good to see her, and it's the first time she's been here for 6 weeks. Or, no, 8 weeks.
Do you get jealous when Louise is here?
Of course we normally have our candlelit dinner for two, which the girls always seem to have ready when we come down to eat. Yeah. And then Lou arrives, there's three of us.
I'm out.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah. He's on his own then.
Then I have a romantic meal for one.
Does it make a big difference having her around?
It's nice to walk down the stairs before I go out for quali or something and see her smile.
And having somebody other than Phil to chat to in the evening.
Yeah.
Lovely though, that is.
Yeah, but I mean, we're quite an age difference, so we do disagree on quite a few things.
Oh, so much.
Like what?
Oh, he's got such bad taste in music.
Like what?
Horrendous.
My music is brilliant, and his is rubbish, really.
It gets on my nerves though. You go out of the room, you got MTV on, and you go to the toilet, you go for a wee or something, or wash your hands. And you come back and there's VH1 on, classic.
Yeah. But you do like.
It's not really. It doesn't really. It's not really got much get up and go in it, has it? To get you revved up for the race.
Yeah. When you get to my age, you'll realise.
Do you like this race? I love this race. It's got a sort of certain
buzz.
Has got a buzz, isn't it? Have you ever been down to the old banking?
It's awesome.
It's quite something, isn't it?
The weirdest thing is when you walk down the back straight into Scari, you turn around, and it just looks like a brick wall, doesn't it? Circuit. It's unbelievable.
The angle is incredible.
Where it runs over the...
I tried to do a piece a couple of years ago, actually standing up on it and filming, doing an interview, and I just no way it wasn't going to happen.
Anyway, I'm going to have to shoot off, and I'm going to go and see my missus.
All right, darling.
Right.
We'll see you in the morning.
Sorry to leave you with your
It's
dinner.
all right.
See you later,
I can have a romantic dinner out there now.
Quite one on your own, matey. Yeah. See you later.
Off you go now.
The first person you need to beat as a Formula One driver is your own teammate. But how do you find out whether you're quicker or slower? Well, it's this, the telemetry trace. This thing doesn't lie, as Jack and Jensen explain.
Turn one is right and then it's left, but you don't see when it turns right and when it turns left. On this screen, Jensen in blue, I am in red.
You can be a commentator.
Because I'm always in red out of habit. Now, all these are accelerations. When the line goes down very quickly, it's braking. The lower speeds are normally corners. And as you can see, turn one, which is a right and a left, there's a small acceleration in between the two. So here you can see that Jensen turns in quicker, but then in the second part, because he obviously turned in a little bit wider to go faster, is a little bit slower at the second apex, but exits the corner faster. As you can see in the time difference, it goes one way and then the other, and it doesn't actually make a big difference.
Turn two, it's a second gear corner, it's a left-hander first and then a right-hander. You've got to try and take as much curve as you can. Jack always seems to be quicker in the first part of the chicane. I still don't know why. I've been watching on TV, but I still don't understand. Maybe that's why he spun off earlier. and then obviously the exit's very important out there, and we seem to be quite similar on the exit.
Driving is very natural to start with, so you can't in one lap just drive differently and do the same line as the other guy, because if you tell yourself to slow down so you don't go as wide, you'll end up slowing down too much because it's not natural yet. And also, part of the line you take is also dictated by the setup of the car. You know, maybe I've got a car that's slightly got less understeer, so I managed to stay tighter, and so on. You never know. So just looking at the speed trace doesn't tell you that you're driving wrong. It could be that. It could also be the way the car is reacting. It could be a million different things, and you need more than just these data to understand that.
Juan Pablo Montoya will definitely be involved in Formula One next season. We're still not 100% sure that Jacques Villeneuve will, by the way. Montoya up there on the front row, right behind him, Kimi Räikkönen, one of the championship contenders, of course. What sort of chance has Räikkönen and McLaren this afternoon? Let's find out from Adrian Newey.
Well, Adrian, so many improvements to this car for this race. Does it mean that Kimi can really challenge for the championship for the rest of the year?
Well, we're hoping so. We've got an upgrade to the engine package. We've changed the aerodynamics a bit, so we feel we've added performance to the car. Fourth on the grid, so to be perfectly honest, we'd hope to be a little bit closer than the half second we are behind Michael. But it's a long race, this one. It's traditionally a car breaker. It's traditionally been quite unpredictable, so we'll just have to wait and see. Hope for the best.
So you're happy that this car can give Kimi the equipment that he needs to really challenge Michael and Montoya?
Well, we hope so. We had a good test here. The test went very well. We came out feeling very competitive from that. Seemed to be comparing to everybody else's times in the race simulations. We looked okay. We will have to wait and see.
Have a good race. Thank you very much.
Indeed we do. We're waiting just under 25 minutes before the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello, last year's winner, chatting away there. I want to talk to you though, Mark Blundell, about the tyre issue. I'm sure a lot of people have read about the row about tyres. Any effect this afternoon?
I don't think there's going to be too much effect at all. I mean, we're talking about a very, very small change to the Michelin tyre, about the width of a matchstick. But the big problem is going to be come the end of the race. That's when the FIA are going to measure the tyres then there may be some discrepancies. So, you know, a guy on Michelin may win this event and may not win it after.
Yeah, for anybody that might not know, Tony, there has been a big row, and Ferrari saying that the Michelin tyres are illegal. They've changed that now and everyone seems happy, but is it going to work out that way?
Well, we hope it will be, because the FIA, the governing body of the sport worldwide, have said that the matter is closed, and therefore they're satisfied that the measurement they will use afterwards will put it all out of any doubt whatsoever. But we're just looking at the McLarens there, and they're the ones that have suffered the most, actually. Ron Dennis said it was very disruptive, Michelin having to make these new tyre moulds, make these narrower tyres, and of course it upset all their plans. And of course one of the things is that the car is very sensitive, particularly the McLaren, and the suspension has to be reset up. All the geometry, the tone, even the tyre pressures are different because the tyres are that bit different. As Mark said, it's only a matchstick, but you've still got to set up your car accordingly.
OK, Mark, Tony, thank you very much indeed. You know, we could be in for the fastest Grand Prix of all time. Barrichello easing up, missed the record by just 30 seconds last year. This weekend we're with the BAR team, both drivers, Button and Villeneuve, in the top 10. We've enjoyed great access there, and we're going to join Jenson Button this morning to check out his race day routine.
On race day, and Jenson arrives in the Monza paddock at the start of a very busy morning. First stop is the team motorhome for a quick breakfast meeting. Then it's tactical talk with the engineering team.
Yeah, what's that tick for? Is that mean you paid? Yeah.
But the drivers have a lot of PR and marketing commitments to meet on race day too. A photo shoot with model and race fan Jodie Kidd drew a big crowd from the media. Then it was time to head for the 11 o'clock drivers' parade. Jenson's race day schedule is pretty tightly regulated, and this is one appointment he definitely can't miss. But it's one that the drivers enjoy, particularly here at Monza, where they always get a rowdy reception. There's no hiding from the microphone on the parade truck, and that wasn't the last question that Jenson was going to have to answer before the morning was out.
Morning, how was that? Was it fun?
Great. No, it's great because they're all pretty lively out there. Got the old air horns going out. I think it...
Get off, I'm busy. Go away.
I think it might help that there's a Ferrari on the front row. So
yeah.
It's good.
You had just one photo shoot this morning, is that right?
Just a one.
One is enough, probably. How'd it go, all right?
Yeah, not bad.
So what's the plan for the rest of the day? It's about 2.5 hours to go before the race. What do you do now? Do you get some time to relax?
I'll get a bit of grub now. Just
normally a salad with a bit of chicken or something, and then see the engineers for a little while and just make sure our strategy's correct, and then have a bit of a kit, and that's it really, and then a few other things, and then we're away.
And then you start your pumping up.
Yeah, we do the
boxing.
Do the odd massage and a bit of neck work and a bit of boxing.
That still makes me laugh, that boxing bit.
Come and watch me. Oh, I'm all tense.
Tense is supposed to relax you after a massage.
No. After the massage, you're supposed to work yourself up again, get warmed up, and.
So does Phil sort of shout at you and give you grief and?
No, because if he did, it just make me laugh. Have you met Phil?
Of course I have.
Louise, we're going to have to.
You've got to go to the paddock club. All right. Well, we'll catch up with you later, Jensen.
Jensen Button, 5th last year, same again, would do very well. That was Marc Genet. We just caught a brief glimpse of him. What a great job he has done standing in for Ralf Schumacher, who's gone home after that very big accident in testing here last week. Let's have a word with a man who's going to be 3rd on the grid. It is Rubens Barrichello.
Rubens, if the fan support could translate into track performance, I think it would be a Ferrari 1-2 today, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's... although I thought that on the parade lap there wasn't that full, but it's always great to see them, and since last week when we were testing here there were a lot of support, so it's always nice.
Now all eyes obviously are on the championship this weekend. There's been a lot of talk about team orders, team tactics. What part can you play in the race today?
To be very honest with you, I'm a very open guy. I play for equality, and I hope they don't come into play. If it happens that I can help Ferrari by somehow, at the end of the day I have to do it because everyone works here for Ferrari, but I hope they don't come into play, and then we have a safe race and a good one.
And probably a very close one. I mean, there's nothing between those two guys on the front row. Do you reckon we're up for a very tight race today?
It's going to be a great time anyway, because it's been very close, the times and so on. We couldn't discard anyone. There's Kimi here as well. There is Jenny, so people will be coming. I mean, you never know if Alonso at the back of the grid with the star they have, if they're going to be here as well, so it's open-minded.
That would be something to watch. Thanks, Rubens.
2nd in 2001, the winner last year, Rubens Barrichello. We're going to have a word now with Alan McNish, Renault test driver. Renault, as Rubens been saying, Alonso down the back, but Jarno truly was Martin Brundle's driver of the day last season. He's in good shape, Ted.
Yes, very good indeed. And Alan, this is really Monza on a race Sunday. I mean, look at this scene. This is fantastic, isn't it?
No, it's really emotion. That's the one fantastic thing about this place, is that whichever race you come to here, there's always the passion, there's always the red, there's always that emotion that bubbles over.
Let's talk about the red star then, Michael Schumacher. What do you think he's doing strategy-wise? A short first stint?
I think he's on 2-stop like the majority of the grid. There's possibly one other on 3, but I really do believe that Michael's actually in a competitive situation this afternoon, and I do think it's down to 3 drivers to win the race.
Let's just talk about Fernando Alonso, of course, who made a mistake in qualifying, has to start at the back. What's his state of mind?
Well, it wasn't actually a mistake. He had an electronic problem which switched off all the systems.
Yeah, so apologies for that.
Yeah, and so, you know, he's in a state of mind where he can only go forward. That's the thing, so he's going to attack, but the one thing that everyone's aware of is the first corner and the possible melee there.
Just finally, let's talk about you for a minute. I heard a rumour that you might be back in a race seat with Jordan next year. True or false?
Rumours. Now, obviously, it's well known that that's what I want to do next year, is get back into racing, and we know what possibilities are up and down the pit lane, and I would certainly feel that this year has been a very strong year for me and helped me on my quest.
Who'll be the winner?
I always intend to be the winner.
No, I mean of the race, you, not you.
The winner of the race comes down to 3 people. It's either going to be Raikkonen or Juan Pablo or Michael. I'm going to plump for Michael.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
There's another Michael Schumacher supporter there. And what about that little rumour that Alan McNish might be in a Jordan next season then, Mark? What about that one?
No, it's quite possible. I mean, Alan's got all the credentials as a driver, but the issue is he got some bank money to go with it? Because I think Jordan are in crisis with the finances.
How about the tactics for this race, Tony? And I'm particularly looking forward to the start and that 200-mile-an-hour dash off the line.
Well, you know, it's going to be very, very close. What we've got to remember is this season we've had a tremendous amount of excitement and overtaking. Look at the British Grand Prix. And here we've got the cathedral of speed where they're reaching 220 miles per hour. They've got to be slipstream. There's got to be good overtaking today.
you've got the temperaments. That's the problem for me. You've got the German on one side, and then you've got the Latin temperament at the Colombian with Montoya, and the Iceman behind is going to be watching it all. So, you know, when Montoya goes into the first corner, there's got to be some fireworks.
Have a look at that. Always pandemonium down there on the grid. David Coulthard looking remarkably cool, and Martin Brundle is down there in the thick of things.
Hello everybody, welcome to Gridwell. What do you want to know? It's going to be quite a race. We're expecting something very spectacular this afternoon. And Michael Schumacher here on pole after a supreme lap yesterday. Let's see if we can poke our nose in somewhere here at the Ferrari team and have a word with somebody and understand what, because they've taken a lot of wing off this guy. He had a top speed of 363 kilometers per hour at the end of the straight, one of the fastest speeds ever on the in a Formula One car. So he's taken a lot of downforce off the bike. That's a gamble, especially with the temperatures coming up, but it gives him a difficult time getting off the line with traction, but it should give him more speed for that run down to the first corner. Interestingly, yesterday on the grid of the Formula 3000 race, those people on the right-hand side, and Montoya over here, now none of the three championship contenders want to talk today. They're all so keyed up. I've spoken to them and they're like, I'd rather not, I just want to stay focused on the race, so I don't think it's fair of me to go barging in. But Montoya then looking as cool as ever. But I started to tell you, in the F3000 race yesterday, the right-hand side of the grid got away supremely well. So, hi Mario Ilian from Ilmor. Just a quickie, Raikkonen got a chance today, or is he just going to have to watch?
No, I think it's a good chance. It's a very wide track here to start with, and I think we have shown very good starts in the past, and maybe we can do it before the first corner.
Okay, good luck. Well, Mario then, of course, putting the engines into the back of Raikkonen's McLaren. And just to have a quick word with Ross here. Ross, you took a lot of wing off Michael's car yesterday, yeah? Is that a bit of a gamble for the race?
Could be, yeah. But we had a good test here, and yeah, we're reasonably happy with it. But yeah, you've got to be brave.
So, you had that high top speed, so it hurt you a bit on traction, might hurt you off the line. But crucially, you can control the pace of the warm-up lap, because I think you've been really hurt by that. The Michelin runners have been slowing you down a lot, haven't they? And you've not got off the line.
Well, it's a bit of a sore point, because in Silverstone, when Rubens pushed hard on the outlap, they didn't follow him. And so it's been a bit of a point of discussion. So they should really follow a reasonable distance behind, but they failed to in Silverstone. I hope they do here, or else we'll be disappointed.
So there might be even tactics going on before this race gets underway. Now, Rubens can come into play here. Presumably his job is to get down to turn one ahead of Montoya and without running into the back of Michael.
Well, yeah, Rubens is the one in the first four who's not in with the championship, and of course when it's a 50-50 situation, drivers, everything's going on in their mind, and we've seen a few cautious races from Michael because he's had the championship in mind. And I think with Juan Pablo and Kimi, they're going to be the same. So Rubens is going to be the guy who can go for it on the first lap. So you might see something interesting.
And we think people are going to pick quite early, yeah, today?
Couldn't possibly say.
Cheers. I'm going to have a wander down and see if I could find anybody else that can give us a view, maybe from the blue and white propeller side of the Mario Thiessen, Dr. Mario Thiessen here. Any chance of a quick word? We're live on British TV. We've heard Ferrari obviously taking a bit of downforce off and taking a gamble for the race today. How confident are you?
Well, we are confident. I think what we did with a bit more downforce on the rear wing should be a good solution for the race, for tire consistency. And the question really will be how good the tires are over a complete stint.
And are you confident? I mean, you could have been on pole, but are you confident for this race?
We could have been on pole, yes, that's true. We don't know how much fuel Michael has on board. How good the time was, we will see at the first pit stop. I hope we can stay out 1 or 2 laps longer than Michael.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, see, that's interesting to me. They don't know. With all the data, they're not absolutely sure how much fuel Rubens Barrichello's got on board, or Michael Schumacher for that matter, despite the simulations they can do. They can have an educated guess, but that's about it. Now, Marc Genet, who's standing in for Ralf Schumacher, also doesn't want to... right, maybe he does. He does. Let's just have a quick chat with Genet. No, he doesn't want to today. Apparently he was saying that he was nervous. Let's just quite quickly down there to Jenson Button. We're having a BAR weekend this time. Jenson, some points today?
Oh, yes.
Loads of them?
Be nice, wouldn't it? We need it.
All right, good luck. Thanks for talking to us. Back to you in the studio.
Be lovely for Jensen to get a few points today. Let me just tell you that 50% of you believe that Michael Schumacher will be champion again. 39% go for Juan Pablo Montoya and 11 for Kimi Raikkonen. So Michael Schumacher gets your vote. The big three totally focused. Watch out for Rubens Barrichello at the start. Michael Schumacher certainly has the knowledge. He has won here 3 times. Montoya, he took the F1 checkered flag for the first time 2 years ago. Raikkonen, he's never even picked up a point here. The Ferrari fans, the Tifosi, will blow poles to the Schumacher towards the first corner. If it is raw speed you're after, look no further than the Italian Grand Prix.
The race on ITV, sponsored by Toyota.
This is a wonderful racing venue. Monza in the Royal Park to the north of Milan. No other track has hosted more Grand Prix. You're with the ITV F1 team for the 53rd Italian Grand Prix. It's a big one as well. Let's join Martin Brundle and James Allen. Now, James, I talked to Sir Frank Williams at our hotel last night. His eyes were shining. He was bubbling with enthusiasm, and we really all feel the same way.
Well, absolutely, Jim, and let's face it, he's got every reason to be upbeat. A win today for his driver Juan Pablo Montoya, and he would be leading the World Championship for the first time in his Formula One career. What a tantalizing prize that is. I was on the grid just a few minutes ago when Montoya got out of the car. No signs of nerves whatsoever, but he was just looking intently down this long straight that leads into the first corner, the very tight chicane. And what a run down to the corner that's going to be. The anticipation, the sense of excitement for this sprint race between Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya. Well, it's got everybody here on the edge of their seats. A wonderful, wonderful atmosphere, as always at Monza. There really is nowhere else like it. Well, the great Enzo Ferrari used to say a win here at Monza is worth half a world championship. And certainly in PR terms, it's a big, big deal for Ferrari and Michael Schumacher to win today. You can see he's sitting in his cockpit, eyes closed, just visualizing the run down to the first corner. But after a 5-race drought, a win for him would certainly move him a big step closer to the record 6th world title. Just 1 point he is ahead of Juan Montoya, who in turn is 1 point ahead of McLaren's Kimi Raikkonen. And neither of those two are really drivers that shy away from a bit of wheel-to-wheel combat, and we're certainly expecting to see a bit of that today. Monza is a track which encourages overtaking. We've seen plenty of it in the past. No doubt we'll see plenty of it today. But you can tell that the pressure is really on now with 3 races to go. Francois Frentzen there, just focusing up. There is Juan Montoya. Michael Schumacher doesn't normally celebrate pole positions, but yesterday when he crossed the line, knowing he had put in a very, very good time, and subsequently when Montoya could not beat it, but look how close the margin is, 5/100ths of a second. Schumacher was like a child on Christmas morning. He was bouncing around. Tremendous pressure, Martin, lifted off his shoulders, because let's face it, this drought for him, 5 Grand Prix now without a win. He really felt that the pole yesterday sets him at least part of the way on the way to a victory.
Yes, it was quite a brilliant lap, and he knew it too, and an important one. He does control the start of the race at least, and he's got a 4-meter head start on his rival down to turn 1 and his teammate just behind him. So Michael starts the race with the upper hand. Home support too, of course. Tremendous Italian support here for Ferrari, and he's won this race before, as we've seen earlier on in the programme, a couple of times from pole. So everything's stacked in his favour at the moment, but I just can't help but feel Montoya looks cool. I think something that was quite exceptional yesterday was just how well the 3 championship contenders handled the pressure. Now Raikkonen too, you've got to bring him into that. They both did absolutely outstanding laps. Montoya making a very slight mistake in Ascari. As he said, I'm just a half a tenth behind. I've got a good car, and we think he's carrying quite a lot more downforce than the Ferrari, which will make it difficult for him to pass Michael in a straight fight along this pit straight here. but it's going to keep his tyres in much better shape.
And interestingly, yesterday afternoon, after qualifying in his little press gathering, he said that he felt it gave him the advantage under braking as well. He feels under braking, which of course is how most overtaking manoeuvres happen, under braking into slow corners, he really has an edge over Michael in the Ferrari. He's got more stability in the tyre, more stability aerodynamically, and he reckons that the brakes are strong right the way through the race.
And it's a psychological thing too, but he's absolutely right. When you've got such a low downforce setup for these 220-mile-an-hour plus top speeds, the cars are quite skittish, particularly towards the final part of the braking zone when the downforce has come off, the ride height's gone up, and the cars start to duck and dive, especially as you're downshifting. If you know your car's a little bit bolted out and just a few percentage points of greater level of downforce will help you quite significantly in the last 20-30 metres of the braking zone and helps you in traction too.
Jeremy Irons there, famous British actor in the garage, one of a number of Hollywood stars, along with Dennis Hopper here this weekend, Lawrence Fishburne with the BMW team. Well, we've been talking about Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya as we wait to get away from the line onto the parade lap. But let's not forget Kimi Raikkonen as well, starting from 4th on the grid as they set off. There he is, just behind Montoya on the left. No one's really been talking about him, but Martin, we've seen time and time again this season that the McLaren tends to work much better in a race than it does in qualifying. And you'd have to say that Raikkonen, of the 3 championship contenders, has the least to lose. Giancarlo Fisichella there looks like he's lost quite a bit, couldn't get the car going, stuttering away there in the Jordan, but I think he's got it moving now.
What a shame, 13th on the grid, a great lap. Suspect he might be 3-stopping, but he's got it underway. Now, what are the tactics on this warm-up lap? I suspect Michael's out the front, trying to really hurry them along. Interestingly, it's Rubens that's leaving quite a big gap there. And Michael's going to want to drag them around to the start-finish line as soon as possible and at as high an average speed as possible to keep his tyres. And if Rubens was playing the game, they should be right up behind Montoya.
A couple of other stories for you to look out for today. Jenson Button has been absolutely brilliant all weekend in the BAR Honda. Very, very tidy lines, driving very smoothly. Yesterday in qualifying managed to get 7th place on the grid. The car, we believe, is carrying a fair bit of fuel, so watch out for him in that tense battle for 5th place in the World Championship between BAR, Jaguar and Toyota. He is very well placed to score a hatful of points. Martin spoke to him on the grid, and we will be speaking as the race goes on to the technical director of BAR, Jeffrey Willis, who'll give us some insights not only into BAR's tactics for this race, but also to what he thinks is going on at the front of the Grand Prix. That should bring us quite a lot as well. And you'll be looking for Ralf Schumacher, and you'll be looking in vain because he's not racing here this weekend after his heavy accident last week in testing here at Monza. He tried practice and qualifying on Friday, felt awful and decided to go home. So Marc Genet, who started 33 Grand Prix for Minardi and has been a test driver at BMW Williams for the last couple of years, he steps into the fray. You can just see him there behind Raikkonen. A super job to come 5th yesterday in qualifying, and obviously with the Constructors' Championship up for grabs as well, he needs to get some big points today.
Michael then had 2 big burnouts on the final part of the straight into the Parabolica. Traction control switched off, just dumping the clutch and letting the rear tyre spin, building up heat. You can keep your left foot on the brake just to keep the brakes working hard too, and the heat transfers into the wheel. It's not a lot, but it all helps, and somehow you just got to keep it all together, especially in low downforce, as strange as it may seem. But even sort of up to the 50-mile-an-hour zone, the downforce makes a difference on your traction, on your getaway performance, as it were. And on board then with Rubens Barrichello, he'll start 3rd. That's what he was doing. Did you hear? He was on the rev limiter. Both Ferraris then burning out their rear tyres, desperately trying to get some heat into them.
Well, I've spoken to a number of engineers from different teams who run the Bridgestone tyres, as Ferrari do, and the Michelin tyres, as McLaren and Williams do, and they say, most of them, that the Michelins have got about 10% more initial bite at the start, straightforward grip going forwards, and they believe that will give Montoya the edge into the first corner. We will see. As you can see, Fisichella going into the pits. He's going to have to start from the back of the grid anyway, so he'll be changing his strategy, possibly going to a very long first stint, trying to play himself into the game a bit later on. But we will focus now on the Grand Prix, which is about to start.
Montoya messing around with something, and there's Alonso at the back. He'll have an advantage of having warmer tyres. He should be coming through, especially with the launch control he's got. And Montoya was messing around on his side of his cockpit down there. He was very steady as he began this warm-up lap.
Will it be Forza Ferrari balmy or bombastic BMW on the run down to the first corner? We find out now. What a great start from the Toyota down the middle, and a big crash at the back. It's one of the Minardis, I think. Where's Montoya? They're side by side going down the run. He's got a poor start. Barrichello's attacking him. Will he get second place? Yes, he will. He resists Jarno Trulli, who got a flyer, but advantage Schumacher into turn one. Trulli and Barrichello side by side, and that's Justin Wilson. I wonder if it was his car that flew up in the air.
We think it's Alonso ran into the back of Wilson. Alonso on the back of the grid after he spun yesterday, and look at this down into turn two. Schumacher having to cover the line. Montoya, will he get through there? They'll tangle if they're not careful. They're so close to tangling, and Michael Schumacher braves it out on the outside. Brilliant action on this first lap, and will he lose out to the fast-starting Renault of Trulli? No, Trulli backs out of it. It's Barrichello that lost out. Also, he's back to fourth.
Well, that certainly wasn't in Montoya's game plan. He tried very, very hard there.
Renault stopped. Sorry, James. The Renault backed out of it. So the two McLarens flashed past. What's happened to Jarno Trulli? So Michael Schumacher, Montoya, and it's Barrichello, Raikkonen, and a very fast-starting David Coulthard.
Well, Montoya said yesterday he was not afraid to attack Michael Schumacher here. There you can see Jarno Trulli. Something's gone wrong with that car. He's suddenly lost drive, so perhaps engine hydraulics, who knows. But now Montoya has got to sit and think about the back of Michael Schumacher, who has a small 2 miles an hour advantage in a straight line. But Montoya's car is set up to protect the rear tyres more during the course of the race and to be more stable under braking. It's going to be cat and mouse on the tactics as well.
Looking forward to seeing a replay of that. Michael Schumacher knew he had to control this race. There is Barrichello having a go. He passed. No, he was up to the third because of the Renault's problem, but he may just get penalised for that. He didn't gain a place, but he sure did manage to not lose one. Michael Schumacher with a 0.7 of a second lead.
Schumacher leads as Alonso comes in. It does look as though it was him that hit the back of the Jaguar of Justin Wilson. Let's look at the order then. Michael Schumacher at the end of lap one leads Montoya. Barrichello third. Raikkonen is fourth. Fifth is David Coulthard. Sixth, Panis. Seventh, Marc Genet. Eighth, Villeneuve. Ninth, Button, who has dropped from seventh on the grid, and Villeneuve's had a blinder to start, up 2 places to pass his teammate. Webber is 10th for Jaguar, 11th Heidfeld, and 12th D'Amato.
So the fast starters then, and Genet slipped down at 3 points, Button down 4, Trulli was up 3, and now his car's stopped. Coulthard up 2, Villeneuve up 2, Wilson appeared not to start, and we think Alonso ran clean into the back of him, and in the pits then is Verstappen in the Minardi. Alonso has now departed pit lane with a new front nose and wing. Trulli has stopped in the first sector. Wilson is running again now. Wilson back in the Grand Prix.
Apparently we're hearing from our F1 ITV pit crew that Wilson couldn't find first gear, so that was obviously the problem for him on the grid, and Alonso didn't expect the Jaguar not to move, so he hit the back of it. There you can see the Minardi just filtering back in as Mark Webber runs a little bit wide into the first corner. Everybody's got their temperatures up, everyone's pushing hard. You can see a lot of people running wide. Let's look again.
Yeah, at the back then, and whoa, right up in the air then, and I don't think it was Wilson at all. I think it must have been Verstappen that he hit. So Alonso with the fast starting Renault unfortunately started right into the back of somebody else, and this Michael Schumacher just making it through the first chicane. Here we go again. Now you're going to see who got run into the back of by Alonso, and
that's the parade lap.
This is the parade lap, so Italian showing us the wrong one here, I think. This is the parade lap. So back to the Grand Prix then. Michael Schumacher still leading by 0.7 of a second from Barrichello. It is noted on the computer that he missed turn 2, but no action at this time. Raikkonen, Coulthard, Genet in 6th.
Well, we start to turn our attention to thinking a little bit about tactics. Recall that with the new rules, you have to qualify on Saturday with the fuel with which you'll start Sunday's Grand Prix. And it's always a guessing game, how much fuel to put in to get yourself a little bit further up the grid. But you don't want to compromise yourself come race day. Well, the intelligence coming up from the pits and paddock this morning was that Michael Schumacher has perhaps 2, maybe 3 laps less fuel than Juan Montoya. That could prove potentially critical if it is the case. Montoya able to run a little bit longer in the first stint than his rival, and we believe that McLaren, Kimi Raikkonen, has a reasonable amount of fuel as well. McLaren very bullish about the tactics, very bullish about the car they've put on the track today. They believe they can play a part in this Grand Prix. There is Kimi Raikkonen chasing down Rubens Barrichello. He's got David Coulthard just behind him, and this is lap 4.
So Then Michael's still got his rear gunner in third place. Montoya's out by himself. Gené's been dropped down to sixth, and he's 8.8 seconds adrift. And Raikkonen's mates come up behind him in the form of David Coulthard. So they've certainly, two of the three of them have got the help they need, as Justin Wilson pits again, unfortunately for him. He's running at the back, and clearly still some dramas, probably in the gearbox department. There's Gené falling back from the leading pack. He needs to be up there for BMW if they need points. He's in there today. In place of Ralf Schumacher, he must score some points.
Certainly does. We're hearing now from the pits that it was in fact Jos Verstappen who got hit by Alonso. That's been confirmed now. He has punctures, he has a damaged car, as you would imagine. So that clears up that little issue. Ted, what can you tell us?
Down at Renault, James, Renault have really a problem in that Jarno Trulli has stopped in a blind spot in the circuit.
1 second, Ted, sorry. Cristiano Di Matta has had a left rear puncture coming down towards the Parabolica, and that was potentially very dangerous indeed at over 200 miles an hour, but luckily nobody hit him.
Interesting though, was that a puncture? Was it some kind of failure? That'll be causing a bit of concern as to what actually happened there. Clearly lots of drama in off the start and through here. You're going to see the left rear, it's already come inboard. Luckily he didn't back it into the barrier. It will have destroyed the underneath, but the car's out of the Grand Prix, beached in the gravel. They'll tow that away, I'd imagine, under double waved yellows. I don't anticipate a safety car situation for that.
There are the waved yellows, as you can see. Trulli's car over on the side of the track. Green flag there means it's okay. The significance of that means you can't overtake when during the yellow flag zone. Ted, sorry to interrupt you. What do you have to tell us?
No, that's all right, James. Yeah, just that Trulli has stopped in a blind spot in the circuit, so they've got no idea what happened. The radio failed, so they don't know whether it was anything like that. We think it might be an electronic failure that stopped Alonso yesterday. That would be the most likely explanation at this point.
Brilliant driving from Montoya and Michael Schumacher. This, of course, a replay of the first lap. Montoya still wanting to have another go, and truly thinking, I'll have a piece of this action. Montoya probably didn't realise he was so close, but stunning driving from the leading two there. But it was Michael Schumacher who braved it out, got his car in the right place. The gap now 1.8 seconds. But look at that, the two McLarens right in there too, James.
They certainly are. Montoya was 1.8 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, as you say. A further two behind him is Rubens Barrichello. 1.5 seconds behind Barrichello is Raikkonen. And Montoya obviously at the moment content to sit behind Michael Schumacher. He's had one go at passing him. He's had two, in fact, goes into the first two chicanes. It hasn't paid off, so now he's playing a waiting game.
And the yellows have gone. They've obviously cleared Di Matta's car down at Parabolica. But yesterday, interestingly, when Toyota had a problem in exactly the same place that Trulli's car stopped, they red flagged the session. You're going to pass it now. They cannot recover a car from that place. It's underneath the old circuit. At the moment, no signs of a safety car, though. And Michael Schumacher still leads by 1.8 seconds from Montoya. Barrichello a further 1.9 behind.
Lap 8 of the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. You've missed nothing. Rubens Barrichello there has just set the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:22.3. Pretty fierce pace as he closes down Juan Montoya. His task today to get in front of him and try and protect Michael Schumacher and also protect his championship position by taking points off Montoya. That's what Rubens is trying to do. He's the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment. The two McLarens behind, Raikkonen and Coulthard, 4th and 5th, playing a waiting game at the moment, but we expect them to come into the race more and more strongly as it goes on. Michael Schumacher leading Montoya now by 2.4 seconds. There is the Colombian in the BMW Williams. Montoya second, Barrichello third, Raikkonen fourth, Coulthard fifth. Marc Gené, super sub test driver in for Ralf Schumacher, is in 6th place, but now 11.5 seconds behind the race leader.
Yes, he's not raced for 3 years, other than a few of the, what is it called, Super Nissan or something in Spain. So Gené really, his pace in the early stages probably not what he may have hoped, what Williams may have hoped, but Montoya is a shuttlecock between the two Ferraris. Sadly for him, he's moving back towards Barrichello. The lead up to 2.5 seconds. Barrichello the fastest man on the racetrack, but Raikkonen and Coulthard are right there on lap times too, so 7 seconds covering the top 5. There are double waved yellows down there because there are men on the racetrack. Now that effectively means slow down and be prepared to stop, double waved yellows, but they're only doing about 180 miles an hour when they see them, and about 210 a bit further along. but what can you do? You're in a motor race, you've got to be aware that they're there. There's very little overtaking goes on down that straight anyway, but you know, how much have you got to slow down? A lot more theoretically than they are at the moment, but they're all just flat out and nailed to the firewall with the throttle pedal, so they're not slowing down.
Difficult decision really for the race director, because 9 laps into this Grand Prix, all the drivers in the race know that car is there. They know it's over to the left-hand side. All of them have no intention of going anywhere near it. So in that sense, it's safe, but at the same time, it's not really ideal to have a racing car sitting on the side of the racetrack. Kimi Raikkonen, though, has just set the fastest lap of the race so far into the low 22.2s, and there he is. Kimi Raikkonen starting to get stronger now. He's 5 seconds behind the race leader, just over 1.5 behind Barrichello, and Montoya is going to start having quite a lot of attention behind him shortly.
And the Renault there, you'll see, is Alonso being lapped, having pitted, having had a start line incident, started at the back, pitted, has now been lapped, the winner of the last Grand Prix. That's how it goes in this sport. But there'll be some smiles on the pit wall. The ones wearing red shirts will be very happy. Their cars are right there on pace. They've got enough pace at the moment, it seems, to win this Grand Prix, but it's early stages. There's the double waved yellow. There'll be some smiles on the silver pit lane as well, pit wall, because McLaren are right in it at the moment with pace. We'll see when they stop, but I'm expecting stops sort of around 12 laps, something like that. Anybody coming in much later than that and they're leading this race, or at the sharp end of this race, are doing very well. But you have to say, you wonder what they're going to do about that stricken Renault. There were 2 guys on the track, but they were kind of looking at it as much, well, we're here now, but what are we actually going to do now we've arrived?
Quick check on the Brits for you as Michael Schumacher sets a new fastest lap. He's trying to stretch out his advantage over 1 more second now ahead of Juan Montoya. Ralph Furman is watching this Grand Prix from the Jordan Hospitality Unit after a middle ear problem caused in an accident at the Hungarian Grand Prix 3 weeks ago. He's still not fit to race, so Zolt Baumgartner is replacing him. Wilson is out of the race, Coulthard is 5th, and Button is 9th. And Jeff Willis, technical director of BAR, joins us now. Jeff, first of all, what happened to Jensen? Why do you go backwards?
We had a little technical problem with Jensen. It slowed us down on the start, and we got jumped by Panis. But we're reasonably happy at the moment.
What do you make of the tactics at the front, Jeff? We've got Michael Schumacher now 3.5 seconds ahead of Montoya. Montoya certainly had a go at passing him at the start, but do you believe he's got a bit more fuel on board?
It's possible. He didn't make the start that we thought. We thought Juan Pablo would get the jump, and Michael's obviously got a very good start. Looks very exciting up at the front.
Yeah, Jeff, when you do anything now, obviously you've got your 8th and 9th, so you're probably still in the zone you expected to be in, although your cars have swapped around. Will you change anything after that start with your strategy?
No, we're pretty much on line with strategy. We'll probably swap the order of the 2 drivers stop. Panis is holding us up a little bit. We have to think whether he's going to stop before us or not.
And how will you communicate that to the drivers? Just on the pit board, or do you trust the radio enough around here?
We know which bits of the circuit we can communicate, and we'll give them the call when we need to.
Okay, good luck. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Coulthard has pitted then, so Coulthard pits at the end of the 11th lap. So first one in, first one to blink are McLaren, and down the car goes. Fuel, quite a lot of fuel going in, nice and smooth on the way out, but not a great stop there. And then he gets slightly held up, but of course they're both nailed to exactly the same speed down the pit lane, and not held up too much then by the Toyota.
No, it was quite a lot of fuel that went into that car. It was over 9 seconds worth, so around about 60 odd kilos of fuel. That should take him, well, I imagine it'll take him about 20 laps further into this race. This is lap 12. We're expecting race leader Michael Schumacher to make a stop anytime in the next couple of laps, if our information was correct. Marc Gené also possibly for BMW Williams. We'll see. This is certainly the zone for the first pit stops. As we've seen throughout the season so far, they tend to run a slightly shorter first stint, so they're not compromised too much on the weight of the fuel in qualifying on Saturday. And then the second and third stints of the race tend to be a little bit longer. But if it is the case that Montoya has a bit more fuel in, he needs to be doing more with it, because he's not close enough to Michael Schumacher at the moment. Schumacher really is stretching his advantage. He's 4.3 seconds now. There you can see the almost half the length of the pit straight ahead of Montoya, and that's not at all in the game plan for Montoya.
We saw the slow-mo replays of just the punishment these cars take over the curbs. Of course, they've got a ride height of something a little over half an inch at the front at low speed, and they're touching the ground at high speed. But if you tried to drive around these curves to protect the car, you'd be 2 seconds a lap off the pace at least. So you have to charge in the curves and just try and unload the tyres and bounce across them. But it really does put a lot of shock loading through the suspension and chassis, and of course through the driver too.
Well, Michael Schumacher went over 320 laps, racing laps this season without leading a single one. But from the start here at Monza, he's managed to get the lead. He's building on it at the moment. 4.5 seconds was the margin last time. He's extending it, you can see, 4.6. His stop will be shortly, and we can see that we saw a second ago that the BMW Williams team getting ready for one of their 2 drivers. We think that's going to be Marc Gené coming in first. The Spaniard currently running in 5th place. As David Coulthard made that early stop, he's dropped down now to 11th place.
Coulthard had enough margin. I suspect why they filled him with more fuel is he was quite a long way ahead of 6th place man Gené, so they could afford to use 2 or 3 seconds of extra fueling to run him further. Normally, ideally, they would love to have just run this as a one-stop, or certainly a much longer first stint. And Raikkonen then, the second man in, Gené in 2, so Gené did pit for Williams. And I would think Kimi Raikkonen and the McLaren team will be very happy at how close he was to the back of Barrichello and Montoya in 2nd and 3rd. Slightly shorter stop for him, and Gené still stationary in the Williams pit then, and off he goes. Now that's surprising, isn't it? Gené very close there. It's closer than I would have expected to the back of Raikkonen, James.
Yep, obviously had a very good in-lap. And for a driver who's, as you said, hardly driven really. Done 33 Grand Prix for Minardi, but the last one was quite a few years ago now. A little bit of Formula Nissan action, but it's not the same as Formula One, certainly. Webber's made a pit stop, and they're all about the same, aren't they, tactically? They're all putting the same sort of amount of fuel in, about 20 laps worth, 9 seconds. So we'll see what Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya do. That's where the brains will come in, of Ross Brawn on the timing wall for Ferrari, and Sam Michael down at Williams, as to how they can play this game, whether one of them will run a little bit longer than the other, try and get a bit of an advantage. Certainly a lot of it will come down to strategy as Michael Schumacher crosses the line to complete lap 14, and we wait to see what the margin is to Montoya. 4.6 last time by. He's taken another 3/10 out of him.
Barrichello pits from 3rd, Michael still in the 1:21.8, just to demonstrate the pace of that. That would have put him 5th on the grid in qualifying. This is an extremely fast motor race, and Michael Schumacher is the fastest man in it, and looking good at the moment. Just the heat, kind of burning of any oil or rubbish on the brakes and pads there. The brakes really do take quite a pounding as you're constantly slowing down from well over 200 miles an hour. And Louise is with Jarno Trulli.
Jarno, all we've heard so far is an electrical problem. Can you tell us more?
Yes, basically I had a very good start, and I was nearly fighting with Michael and Juan Pablo, but unfortunately I had an hydraulic problem which stopped completely the car electronically and everything, so I couldn't do anything else. Right then, just stop the car.
Thanks, Jarno.
Yeah, bad news for him. I mean, he certainly was looking pretty racy, wasn't he, in that early stage. But, Michael Schumacher now leads by 4.9 seconds, 39 laps remaining, 3.6 miles for each and every lap. This is the parabolic corners where Michael crashed on the outlap of the first Friday morning session here. But now he's pitting then. The leader pits.
Dives into the pit lane, race leader. This is a pretty important stop. We expect he's going to make 2 of them this afternoon. And this is one where Montoya now flashes past. He goes into the lead of the Grand Prix. Juan Montoya leads, but he had nearly 5 seconds disadvantage to Schumacher at the end of the last lap. Very, very tidy pit stop from Ferrari. And Michael Schumacher is back out again on track.
Well, he had a 4.9 lead. It's interesting that Montoya's stretched it a little bit further, but surely Montoya will pit at the end of this lap. His teammate was in 2 laps ago, so maybe we said he was very slow on the warm-up lap. He didn't spin his wheels away from the start-finish line. His pace hasn't been that hot, and maybe Montoya saved himself another lap of gas, or maybe this was his strategy. Nonetheless, surely he'll be in any time soon, but he'll be doing well to cut anything back of that 4.9 deficit.
Yep, a lot of people coming into the pits now, making their stops. And at the moment, Jacques Villeneuve, who has yet to make a stop, is up into 3rd place. Jenson Button was behind him in 4th. He's just come into the pits. So too has Heinz-Harald Frentzen. We've seen already Barrichello. So only Montoya of the front runners still to make a stop. Here he is. We ride on board with him.
Surely they are expecting him then, so he'll take the normal line through Parabolica, then he'll start cutting in a little bit more right than normal, lining it up. It's a difficult pit lane speed limiter here because you've got a straight run in from max speed straight in to this 80km/h zone. And there he goes then for the yellow board. He's got to be out in something like 7.5 if he's going to do anything special here. Down to Ted.
This was his planned strategy. There he goes. Good stop. 8.4. Montoya was complaining of bagloads of oversteer. So what they've done is taken out some front wing to try and give him a balanced car for this stint.
Okay, so they can adjust the front wing quite easily. Michael retakes the lead of the Grand Prix then, but Montoya exits still ahead of Barrichello, but Barrichello will be charging down there at 220 miles an hour, and Montoya's got to sweep out to take the normal racing line. So at the moment it looks pretty much status quo, doesn't it, after those first stops. So Villeneuve's also pitted from third place, and the only man not to pit at the moment then Baumgartner in the Jordan, and Fisichella in the sister car.
So Montoya did not have as big a fuel margin as perhaps many had thought. Just 1 lap more then of fuel in the car than Michael Schumacher. Not enough to make the difference, particularly as he had fallen almost 5 seconds behind the German after the first stint. So now Michael Schumacher is in control of this race, as he has been more or less since the end of the first lap. He had a couple of scares at the start as Juan Montoya went wheel to wheel with him. Now we see Fernando Alonso already. Whoa! Well, that's quite a bit of debris there down at the second chicane, and that'll certainly slow the Renault down a bit.
Yeah, that's a long job changing that floor. He's had a pretty dismal afternoon, hasn't he? He was running back in 15th after a start line incident, a new nose, wasn't lapping particularly quickly either, Alonso, and that's pretty significant damage underneath there. And at these high speeds, you can't go around, cruise around with that lot flapping around.
Yeah, well, certainly yesterday's spin in qualifying was put down to a traction control failure. Electronics led him down there. It wasn't his fault, but he was inch perfect in everything he did in Hungary 3 weeks ago, and certainly this weekend he'll want to get out of here and forget all about Monza 2003. Schumacher leads, 3.4 seconds the margin to Montoya, so he's taken 2.5 seconds out of it after the first stint into the pit stops. Barrichello's third, fourth is Raikkonen, fifth is Coulthard, and sixth, Marc Genet. Lap 20 of the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Michael Schumacher leads Juan Montoya with the margin which before the first round of pit stops just a few laps ago was 4.9 seconds is now down to 2.7 seconds. The changes which Ted described to us have certainly made a difference to the handling of the BMW Williams of Juan Montoya. He's much happier as Barrichello makes an adjustment there on his steering wheel as he goes down the straight, start-finish straight. And well, certainly Montoya is a lot more pacey in this middle stint of the race. Barrichello dropping away from him now. He's 3.7 seconds behind the Williams driver. Raikkonen, he's in touch, 5 seconds behind Barrichello, but just over 11 behind race leader Michael Schumacher. And David Coulthard is shadowing his teammate.
So whether it was the change of front wing, taking a little bit of front wing out to dial out some of the oversteer Montoya was talking about, or whether he just prefers this set of tyres, you do get fractionally different feeling and balance and grip level on the tyres as Baumgartner pits from 14th in the Jordan. But whatever it is, Montoya's just completed 3 consecutive faster laps than Michael Schumacher, and suddenly in this phase of the Grand Prix it's Montoya on the offensive. There's your leader. The gap now is 2.5 seconds, so that's 4 consecutive laps. In this phase of the race then, Montoya is going to close Michael down, and Louise is with Cristiano D'Amato.
Cristiano, what happened there? Was it a puncture?
It's difficult to say exactly what it was. Definitely there was something on the left rear tire, obviously, but it's difficult to say if it was a puncture or because of the incident on the first lap, maybe ran over some carbon fiber piece. Difficult to say. We have to wait until the car comes back to check the tires properly.
Pretty nasty place for it to happen.
Yeah, there wasn't a very good feeling, but at least didn't crash anywhere. That was lucky on that.
Pleased to see him one piece.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic voice that guy's got. It's like a Brazilian samba dance, isn't it? It lilts up and down, goes all over the place. I could listen to that all day. Unfortunately, he'd rather be out there on the racetrack racing, and that was, as Louise said, a particularly nasty incident for D'Amato. Big puncture around 200 miles an hour down the main back straight into the Parabolica, but luckily he's okay. Montoya is pushing hard. Rubens Barrichello is pushing hard to try and catch him, but he's falling still off the back of Montoya, and this is a real game of cat and mouse between Ferrari and Williams. And with all that's gone into this Grand Prix, the build-up to this Grand Prix, Martin, with the Ferrari launching a protest against Michelin tyres used by Williams, McLaren, Renault, etc. through the summer to such fantastic effect, and the change of the way that the FIA is going to enforce the tyre regulations. They'll be measuring tyres now at the end of this Grand Prix. That contact patch you see, that the front tyres, the bit that's in contact with the ground, that's where the controversy has been about. And well, we'll see at the end of the Grand Prix. Hopefully the new Michelins are in conformity. Jeff Willis is joining us again, technical director of the VAR team. Jeff, you were talking about getting ahead of Olivier Panis and looking at the timing screens. You're 7th now with Villeneuve. Panis is 8th. It seems to work for you.
That's right. You can see the difference that Jack was able, by being in front of Jensen, to run one extra lap. We had to stop Jensen first, and that enabled him to jump Panis. So we're happy with one. We'll have to see what we can do with getting past Panis.
Jensen's just done a very slow lap, a 1:29.9. Any ideas what that's about, Jeff?
We have heard he has a problem with second gear. We've got to confirm that.
Okay, well that's quite a bit slower, isn't it? So that seems like you might have a few gremlins developing there.
He lost it all in the first sector. Yes, we need to see where that is.
Well, let's hope there's no too many problems. Just looking at the stops of Williams and Ferrari, Jeff, what do you conclude? Who took on how much fuel, and how far apart are they going to be for their second stops, do you think, Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya?
We think Michael's going to stop about 2 laps later than Montoya, probably lap 34 rather than lap 32, according to our calculations.
So he's looking pretty strong at the moment then?
I would think so, yes.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Jeff. We'll speak to you again a little bit later on after the second round of pit stops. Well, he thinks that Schumacher's in the box seats. Certainly looks that way at the moment, but Montoya's not letting him get away.
It's not over by a long way at the moment. They've just, the three of them, Michael Schumacher, Montoya, Barrichello, just all lapped within 100th of a second, the three of them together. Nothing between them. The gap's still 2.4 seconds back to Montoya. I can't quite understand the McLarens. They're really hurting at the moment. They're now back some 7/10 of a second off the pace. There's Raikkonen. They both had a bad lap a while back, clearly in some traffic. Coulthard too, he's falling a bit back from Raikkonen now, 4 seconds adrift. So at this stage, for some reason, the McLarens, hopefully we can go and, although McLaren don't give too much away to our pit crew, our F1 ITV team, but clearly McLaren's not working well at the moment, James.
No, indeed not. Well, the margin on the grid between Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya was 5/100ths of a second, the time it takes to blink an eye, literally. And he went close, or closer still. The last lap, they were 1,000th of a second apart in their pace. That is the level of intensity of competition at the front to win this World Championship, and in the short term to win the Italian Grand Prix. We ride on board then with the reigning world champion leading at Monza in front of over 60,000 very passionate Italians who've come here not just hoping for victory but expecting it, carrying the hopes of a nation on his shoulders. It's been a rough summer for the Ferrari team, but judging by their performance yesterday and again here today, they certainly look as though they're back. But Martin, there's a lot of people say it's important for Schumacher to win this race this weekend, because Williams are expected to be quite a bit stronger in 2 weeks' time at Indianapolis.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we all thought they would be stronger here in Monza, although, of course, Ferrari did have a very solid test last week. And I think the Michelin teams have definitely been slightly destabilised by having to come up with that new tyre last week instead of fine-tuning their car. But I tell you what, Michael Schumacher looks an awful lot more comfortable and less near the ragged edge than this man Montoya. Montoya giving it absolutely everything, and super speed there through the exit of Ascari. But at the moment, you do sense that it's easier for Michael than Juan Pablo.
When you say easy, you mean the car is handling better for him, it's under him more?
Yeah, well, you just watch him going into the chicanes. He's launching it into the chicanes, catching it as it's sliding on the way in and really wringing its neck. And it's down to 1.8 seconds now, the lead, so it's working. But he knows he's got to do that. He lost out in the first part of the Grand Prix. He didn't make it past Michael, that brilliant attempt down into the second chicane. But Then he had the wrong setup on the car, but now he's got his chance. Ted is down in the pits.
Yes, and it's bad news, I'm afraid, from BAR. We heard that Jenson Button had lost second gear. He's now lost another gear. They think it's fourth. The bad thing is that the team reckon that this is actually part of a larger problem, whether that's hydraulics. They're not telling me, but it is part of perhaps a race-ending problem. We'll keep you posted.
Losing one gear is very careless. Losing two is absolutely, but nothing he can do about it. We saw him being passed there, and the problem with these sequential boxes, where you just we've got an auto upshift, it has to pass through all the gears. So you can't. In the old days, when you had a stick shift, you could, as you often had to do at Monaco, when you lost a gear or two, you could protect the gearbox. Now you can't protect the gearbox anymore.
Lap 25 then. Michael Schumacher, 1.8 seconds now only, the margin ahead of Juan Montoya. There you can see it. The Colombian is closing down. That last lap, half a second he took out of Michael Schumacher's lead. Barrichello third, Raikkonen fourth, Coulthard is still fifth, having a quiet afternoon, but still scoring important points and protecting his teammate ahead of him. And as Ted was predicting, Jenson Button, and right on cue, there he is, coming into the pits. And that's a shame for Jenson, after such a strong qualifying performance, to have to come in. But nevertheless, teammate Villeneuve still looks, at the moment, okay for 2 World Championship points. He's in 7th place, just behind Marc Genet.
So finally then, Raikkonen has got onto the leader's pace. He's now 13.6 seconds behind in 4th. Coulthard still struggling. We think they fueled him a little bit longer, a longer stop. But that is Montoya hacksawing away at the wheel, back end bouncing, engine on the rev limiter as he's got his foot buried in the floor, trying to catch that very skinny rear wing of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. You can visibly see the difference in the aero levels of those two cars, and you see a much bigger profile on the rear wing. There's a good shot of it, of the Williams, and I think they might just be regretting that. There are 4 speed traps around this circuit, and Montoya doesn't appear in the top 6 of any of them. They're carrying too much rear wing on that Williams.
Yep, it's harming their straight line speed. The wing slows it down, creates a little bit more drag, but does tend to protect the rear tyres a little bit and give the driver a bit more stability under braking. But to make a pass, he's got to be close enough in the first place to launch one. At the moment, he's taking a couple of tenths a lap out of Michael Schumacher, another couple there. 1.6 now the margin. It's not for want of trying, though, on the part of Juan Montoya. Martin, just characterise for me the 2 drivers as you see them then. Michael Schumacher, obviously enormous experience. Montoya doesn't lack experience either over in the US. He's certainly had plenty of that. But the way they go about their business in Formula One, the way they're approaching this race and this championship, how do you see them, the differences?
Well, I'd imagine Michael is slightly more approaching this slightly more technically probably than Juan Pablo Montoya, just from what you hear as they pass the Renault of Alonso, which has had a number of dramas. He's back in 13. Somewhat scarily, he did carry on with that car, despite losing loads of bits from underneath it. So, but I think Juan Pablo Montoya is more of a seat-in-the-pants style driver, and he lets the team probably set the car up more for him and work out. I would imagine Michael's more closely involved in the weekend, the strategy and the general process of going Grand Prix racing. But I think Montoya, his style gives him the chance then to, it's like water off a duck's back, this pressure.
Nothing much choosing between them in speed.
Not at all. Different style, but same net result.
So Schumacher leading as we complete lap 27. You can see a super slow-mo of the cars cannoning off the chicanes. That's the kind of punishment they're taking every single lap of the 53 here at Monza. Montoya now just 1.3 behind with traffic they're approaching shortly. Barrichello, Raikkonen, Coulthard and Genet, the top 6. Lap 29 of 53 here at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Jos Verstappen there coasting into the pitch, but look how close Juan Montoya now is to the back of Michael Schumacher. He's clawed the gap down over the last few laps, and it's now under a second as they cross the line to begin lap 30. Verstappen, you see in the pits, under braking there into the first chicane. Look how much Montoya is able to close up to the back of the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. Then as the Ferrari accelerates away, the gap grows again, a concertina effect. But I'll tell you something, these two guys are both absolutely on the limit. The World Championship is at stake, this race is at stake, so much is at stake, and they are flying.
Yes, when I said he's carrying too much rear wing, I didn't explain that properly. It's too much rear wing for a very good high top speed, but it's certainly helping him under braking, as we explained at the beginning of the programme. And now he's got the balance he wants. Now they were able to change that front wing at the pit stop. Montoya is attacking the racetrack. Michael can just about respond, but I haven't seen any sign of Schumacher getting ragged, have you? He's pushing hard, but he's not ragged at the moment. It's still Montoya looking the one working the hardest, but he's got the fastest car. Louise is down with Jenson Button.
Jenson, Jeff Willis has been keeping us updated on your gearbox problems as the race has been going on, but at what point did you realise it was going to become a terminal problem?
Well, as soon as you lose one gear, it's normally a problem. Because you start stripping the others as you go through the box, and I lost second gear, then first gear, which on this circuit is pretty difficult anyway, because you've got first gear in a second gear corner. But I had to just pull the clutch in third gear, and then I lost sixth and seventh gear as well.
Big disappointment for you, but things are looking a bit brighter for Jacques.
Yeah, it's looking good. I mean, he was able to get a good start. I had a problem with my launch control, which again is very, very disappointing. But no, he's in seventh and very, very good. We need to have some points here. We need to stay in front of the Toyotas and Jaguars, and this is doing a good job.
Thanks, gents.
Gap now up to 1.3 seconds. This is an absolute head-to-head. Barrichello slipped back. There he is. He's now 6 seconds behind the leading duo. Raikkonen holding at about 13 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. So Raikkonen can't, I don't think, win the race. He's just got to minimise the damage this afternoon. Coulthard still in a solid 5th. We think Barrichello's pitting at the end of this lap, so we're in then for what will be the second scheduled and final stops of the afternoon. For this Grand Prix is just disappearing, isn't it? It's incredible. We're on lap 31 already.
Well, they were talking about this possibly being the fastest Grand Prix of all time. That record held a Grand Prix back here in 1971. Peter Gethin, the winner there. And we will see if the average speed this afternoon beats it. The way they're going at the front, you'd have to suspect it's going to fall. Michael Schumacher, though, has managed to claw back a little bit of ground on Montoya. You can see 1.2 seconds the margin now. A bit more comfort for Schumacher as Barrichello pits from 3rd place.
Well, he really did attack that speed line. Looks like he just about got it slowed down enough. I think Barrichello can get in there and really help Michael now. Too much of a deficit on the pit stop, but he's got to keep push, because if there's a sticky wheel on the Williams, or the fuel nozzle's not quite right, or something like that, suddenly Barrichello can be in there inflicting some major damage on this man Montoya. The gap down to 1.2 seconds. We think Genet is now pitting in the sister Williams from what is 6th place, 29 seconds adrift.
We haven't seen too much of Marc Genet so far this afternoon, replacing Ralf Schumacher, who's gone back to Salzburg complaining of a headache after the first qualifying session. Genet stepping in, did a terrific job to get 5th on the grid as Olivier Panis comes into the pits. He's in the last of the points-paying positions at the moment in 8th place. He's fairly comfortable there. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is his nearest challenger, and he was 10 seconds behind Panis before this round of pit stops. So Panis looking good to score points again for Toyota here this afternoon, as into the pits comes the Williams.
And it's Montoya that's pitted. Montoya pits then. So from what was 2nd place, here we go. This is a crucial stop. World Championships are going to be hanging on these pit stops this year now. And he's ready to go, but the fuel isn't yet. Solid stop, not spectacular. Panis also pitted in the Toyota at that time. So now, when will Michael Schumacher stop? They must have short-filled Montoya slightly then on that first round of stops.
Well, we heard Jeff Willis when we were speaking to him a while ago saying he reckoned that Schumacher had 2 laps more fuel as we look at Coulthard making his stop. So these next 2 laps, absolutely critical for Michael Schumacher. This is where he needs to build the margin for victory. He was under a lot of pressure. He had Montoya breathing down his neck throughout the middle stint of this race, and he wants to make things a little bit more comfortable for himself. This is where he's got to do it, but unfortunately for him, he's got a bit of traffic to negotiate. Should pass that Sauber down the back straight before the Parabolica corner, although he is quite a long way back going onto the straight. We will see. But Heidfeld getting the message that he's got the race leader behind him, and he is not in a mood to be hanging around.
Well, Ferrari team will hope that the team they supply engines to don't hinder their man. Heidfeld, fellow countryman of Michael Schumacher, literally getting out of the way, but giving Michael a tremendous tow down the pit straight. And it's a 1:22.1 for Michael. A lot of blue smoke down there at the first chicane. Somebody's obviously recently locked up. But a solid lap from Michael, a good lap, but he probably wished he could have been 3 or 4 tenths quicker there. And this is, as you said, James, his chance to start pumping them in.
Well, it certainly has gone quickly, this Grand Prix. I'm sure for Michael Schumacher, it can't. The checkered flag cannot come quickly enough. He really does want the 10 points and the enormous sense of relief which would accompany it after such a difficult summer for him and the Ferrari team. Having been on top in the World Championship since the Canadian Grand Prix, to see everybody else closing up so much, with Montoya just a point behind and Raikkonen 2 points behind. That's not the kind of zone he wants to be in. He wants to put some breathing space, quite literally, between himself and his pursuers. And 2 points today, if he can come first with Montoya second, that would do the business for Michael. A little bit more space for him. And Ferrari getting ready in the pit lane.
So that's Genet ahead of Montoya. Montoya stopped for the second time, of course. There's the reason for that. And of course now Montoya's got the fuel load. He'll be about a second and a quarter down. So how much longer has he got to run with his heavy fuel load before Michael comes in and takes on a similar fuel load? And there is the answer. Schumacher in the pits now. Did he get held up in any way behind that Minardi? Because the gap was 1.2 seconds before this all started for the second scheduled stops of the afternoon. Oh, it seems like an eternity when you're sitting there, but Michael's so calm, not revving, not pushing to get away, and Raikkonen pits from second place. Ted.
Well, here we go. Kimi Raikkonen was about 2 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello when Rubens pitted. Is he going to jump him on this one? It's going to be touch and go. Fuel going in. Kimi's on the limiter. Let's see what's happened. Oh, 9.5. Where's Montoya and Michael, though?
Well, Montoya's side by side with Michael on the run of the first corner, and he's got him. Juan Montoya has got ahead of Michael Schumacher through the second round of pit stops. Absolutely incredible for the BMW Williams driver, and the TV only picked it up right at the last minute. We thought he perhaps had a margin to do it, and he's done it. He's got ahead.
I think Michael got held up down there on the way in behind the Minardi, and noticed there was a Minardi trundling out behind him in the pits as well. Did he get held up? No criticism of Minardi there. They're entitled to do exactly what they need to do for their pit stop. But clearly, with traffic, not a spectacular in-lap, Montoya hasn't had brilliant laps, so Michael lost some time somewhere, no doubt about it, James. Now he is steering at the rear wing of the Williams. And we're making sure we're looking at the right Williams, yeah? Because it's the wrong... We got the right Williams there, because Genet is in the action too.
No, I think you might be right. I think it might be Genet, in fact, that's in front of him. Let's just check this. The computer has not told us here at Monza which is which. Very difficult to tell the two helmets apart. There is Genet, there is Michael Schumacher, there is Montoya. Beg your pardon, all those of you watching back at home. It was a very late call, as I say on the TV. The picture switching across, and Michael Schumacher is still in front of Juan Montoya.
Okay, well, that explains then he didn't lose any time much, because he needed to have lost about 1.3 seconds plus 2 extra laps where Montoya was carrying the heavier fuel load. So it was Genet that was down there into the first corner, slightly out of schedule on his stops, and therefore Michael Schumacher still leads the Grand Prix by 1.6 seconds.
Yesterday morning when they went out for the pre-practice, I was looking at the two helmets and thinking they're very similar. I hope it doesn't catch us out tomorrow. And there you are. They are very, very similar indeed. Anyway, Michael Schumacher leading by 1.6 seconds then from Juan Montoya. Genet has made his pit stop. He was in third place. Barrichello fourth. Raikkonen fifth. Coulthard sixth. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has made a stop as well. He is dropping down the order now. Villeneuve will be coming back up to attain his 7th place again, with Panis in 8th. So all as you were very much here at Monza after the second round of stops.
Heidfeld was in P7 when he came in.
Well, Jeff Willis is joining us, the BAR technical director. Thanks for joining us again, Jeff. How's it looking?
It's looking quite good at the moment for Jacques. We got the stop just right. We're about 2 seconds quicker on our stop, and we did the right strategy, stopping later. Very disappointing with Jensen. We'll look into what the problem is, but it's pretty frustrating. We think both cars were good here.
Well, 2 points today for you would be a real boost in the Constructors' Championship, wouldn't it?
It's very important that we score more points than either Jaguar or Toyota. It's very important to us.
Well, it looks like Toyota have hit some problems there, Jeff, just as you were talking. I don't know if you saw the picture, but Olivier Panis there looks like he's coasting, and 8th place going out the window for him.
I saw him slow. Yes, I'm not quite sure. It hasn't come back to him.
Thank you, Jeff. We got a straight fight on our hands now, because Montoya then once again beginning to close Michael Schumacher down, just clipping a 10th or 2 here and there. Barrichello out of the picture, 13 seconds adrift. Raikkonen is just a second behind Rubens Barrichello, so worked out well in the stops there. Raikkonen needs to get ahead of Barrichello. Barrichello, instead of sort of trying to get some points off Montoya, is going to have to work hard now to keep points away from Raikkonen. So there's a good squabble going on for 3rd and 4th places. Let's have a look at this lap. At the moment, Montoya, it was even Stevens, just a fractions in it. Still the gap is 1.3 then. How is he going to catch him? We think he might be able to pass him under braking. Michael's got the faster car in a straight line, but with a good tow and the BMW engine behind him, if Montoya can get into the draft, into the zone behind Michael's car where he's punching a hole in the air, surely he'll have a chance under braking. It's going to be very close to the end of this Grand Prix. There is the battle for 3rd and 4th between Barrichello and Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen needs those points.
You can see the Minardi in front. Traffic always a big factor here. He moves smartly out of the way to let them through. To the second chicane then goes Barrichello, with Raikkonen right behind him, and the points absolutely critical all the way through the field. Raikkonen a championship contender, don't forget, and a big job here then for Rubens Barrichello to help Michael Schumacher by keeping him behind him. Lap 40 of the 53-lap Italian Grand Prix. We're into traffic here for the race leaders, Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya. You've missed nothing, but Michael Schumacher just lapped Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Frentzen got in the way of Montoya into the second chicane. It was one of those unfortunate bits of timing. It wasn't really Frentzen's fault, but he just came across him at the wrong moment, and it's taken Montoya far longer to get past Frentzen than he would have liked. He was 1.2 seconds behind the race leader at the beginning of this lap, and that, you can see, has really cost him.
Yeah, he lost over a second in the middle sector alone, so really that might be a bit of a pivotal lap this afternoon. With not passing Michael in the early stages there on the down at the second chicane, a great epic duel we saw in the first lap of this Grand Prix, certainly the first part of it. But now the gap is 2.3 seconds there. That really did hurt Montoya, and he's now got to charge all over again. And we know he can only edge back a 10th or 2 at a time, and he ran in a bit deep. Bit of frustration creeping in there now from Montoya. He knows that cost him dearly.
Schumacher leads Montoya then 2.3 seconds the margin. He's added just over a second on that lap. Barrichello 3rd. He's 15 seconds behind the race leader, with Raikkonen right behind him. There you can see them. That's the battle for 3rd and 4th places, the final slot on the podium. Barrichello, last year's winner here at Monza, looking to get up onto the podium again. And, well, he's certainly going about it the right way at the moment. Coulthard is 5th, and Marc Genet, who got involved in that tussle at the front after the second round of stops. We thought it might have been Montoya getting in front of Michael Schumacher after those second stops. It was in fact Genet who's made his second stop himself, and he is back into 6th place. And Ted has some news for us.
I tell you what, James, there's a suspicion down here at Williams and McLaren that Michael Schumacher has got brake problems. Of course, he took all that wing off, so he's got major high speeds, and slowing down is obviously going to be a problem from that. They've noticed excessive dust coming out of those brake ducts. Ferrari, of course, aren't saying anything, but let's see, maybe Montoya might be able to get him under braking.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot of black dust. You don't know the materials that they're using necessarily are the same as the Williams in terms of the pad and the disc, but no doubt about it, there is a plume of black dust coming from the brakes every time Michael hits the pedal. At the moment, he's got a lead of 3.2 seconds now, so Montoya had a second difficult lap. We saw him go a bit deep into turn 1 and lost himself some time. Coulthard now coming under a lot of pressure from Marc Genet in their 5th and 6th. Coulthard's had a 2 or 3 very slow laps, whether he's beginning to, well, not very slow, but clearly not fully on the pace lap. So at the moment, a couple of battles shaping up, 3 in the top 6. So Montoya still with a chance against Michael Schumacher. Barrichello just edging away from Raikkonen for 3rd and 4th. Coulthard and Genet squabbling over 5th and 6th. Now just 2.7 between them.
And you can see that the top 6 place is filled by both cars from the top 3 teams in Formula 1. Or once again, the reliability of the leading teams seems to be pretty remarkable. That was an interesting scene. Looked like Flavio Briatore from Renault talking with some of the Mercedes McLaren people up on the timing wall. I wonder what they were having a chat about. Certainly it's not been a great day for the Renault team. Jarno Trulli is out of the Grand Prix. He retired right at the very beginning, first lap, and Fernando Alonso is a lap down in 11th place. We haven't seen much of him since he took half of the floor off his car, but he is still circulating, albeit a couple of seconds off the pace.
It's taken something away from Montoya. That lap where his charge was halted by the moment of having to lap Frentzen. He's now lost another 0.4 of a second. Suddenly Montoya hasn't got the pace. It really did break his rhythm up. What a shame for us in terms of watching this Grand Prix. But now Michael with a 3.6 second lead.
Well, certainly Montoya won't be giving up. He'll know that there's traffic in the shape here, for example, of Zolt Baumgartner standing in for Ralph Furman in the Jordan team. He'll know that that might take a little bit out of Michael Schumacher's lead. He needs to be harrying the Ferrari driver all the way. He's now got ahead of the Jordan, you can see, and that's another car for Montoya to get past.
Yes, I don't think Michael passed the Jordan as cleanly as he would normally have liked to have done. He had to follow him through the Lesmos, but how are we doing on this lap? Still Michael's, it's even Stevens on the first 2 sectors, but as you say, James, there's another back marker now for him to pass. So now we've had 6 retirees: Panis, Verstappen, Button, D'Amato, both Toyotas out then, Wilson and Trulli.
Yeah, just outside the points positions then, outside the top 6. Villeneuve is 7th still for BAR, so that's going to be a very important result for them. If he can hold on to that, that will really put them in a very strong position to hold on to 5th place in the Constructors' Championship, as it looks like Toyota aren't going to score any points today. But if anything happens to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who is currently 8th and on target to score 1 point, then Mark Webber is ready to pounce in the Jaguar. He's 9th at the moment, just a couple of seconds behind Frentzen. And we've seen that the Aussie is has a never-say-die spirit when it comes to the end of Grand Prix, particularly if there are points at stake. So he may well have a go in the closing stages. Heidfeld is 10th, Alonso 11th, Fisichella 12th, Baumgartner is in 13th, and Chiesa in the Minardi 14th.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Still Montoya not past the Jordan. And he's may clear him, but it still compromise his entry. No, he still hasn't passed him. Look, yes, the Jordan gets out of the way, but it compromised Montoya's entry. You hesitate, is he going to get out of my way or not? And so you still lose time, and it's just not working out in the traffic for Montoya. And there then is the scrap for 5th and 6th between Coulthard and Genet, down to just 1.2 seconds. Coulthard struggling for pace at this stage. Genet, well, the quickest man on the racetrack last time around.
Yeah, certainly pushing very hard. Super sub. There was some talk yesterday. Frank Williams was saying he wasn't 100% sure that Ralf Schumacher would be fit for Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time, but we heard Ted Kravitz speaking before to Sam Michael, the chief engineer at Williams, saying they were pretty confident this morning, having heard from Ralf by phone from Salzburg, that he was feeling a lot better, and very confident that he will be back in the car for the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Certainly it's very important from a Constructors' Championship point of view, although Genet doing a fine job here in 6th place at the moment, and really closing down David Coulthard.
Yeah, well, he's just playing fast. I mean, Michael's doing 22.9 again that lap, and Genet doing a 22.8. Raikkonen and Coulthard pretty similar actually in the 2 McLaren, so Genet's just playing faster at this stage of the Grand Prix. If it stays like this at the moment, there it's coming up on the screen, that finishing order, Michael Schumacher will lead the World Championship with 82 points compared to Montoya's 79, Raikkonen 75, so it's not working well for Raikkonen. Montoya still easily in the hunt, as indeed will Raikkonen be, but it's looking very strong for Michael, isn't it? He just needs to make sure that Barrichello stays that 1.5 seconds ahead of Kimi Räikkönen at the moment.
So we're getting into the closing stages then of the Italian Grand Prix. Few questions still unanswered. Can Marc Gené pass David Coulthard? Can Kimi Räikkönen pass Rubens Barrichello? And has Montoya still got anything left to try and close down Michael Schumacher? Lap 47 here at Monza, and Michael Schumacher, who's been matched so closely throughout the race with Juan Montoya, appears to have broken his spirit now. And here is David Coulthard in trouble.
Coulthard with some kind of technical problem pulls into the end of the pit lane. The marshals will then wheel that away. Coulthard out of the race. Gené up to 5th, Villeneuve 6th, Frentzen 7th then now, and Webber in the Jaguar will be in the final points-paying position. Montoya now 7 seconds adrift. He just lost something in a crucial lap there and lost momentum, and Michael now just driving off into the distance. He's not under pressure from Barrichello in 3rd, and Räikkönen can't quite get back on the terms with. And there's another replay then of Coulthard getting out of the car. So the Grand Prix is not quite developed, has it, James? It's sort of threatened to be thrilling, and it looked like Montoya was really coming at Michael for a closing grand finale, and suddenly that's petered away. Räikkönen can't quite get on terms with Barrichello, and we were looking for a good scrap between Coulthard and Gené, and Coulthard's car breaks down. So sadly, not really developing into a classic, although a pretty tense race. Montoya's driven well, but you have to say Michael Schumacher always looked the man slightly more under control.
Yeah, he soaked up the pressure right from the start. The run down to turn 1, he got alongside Montoya. He kept his nerve. Montoya was side by side with him through the first chicane. Michael Schumacher was ahead there, but then Montoya had a major go at him into the second chicane on the opening lap. Michael Schumacher gave him room. They didn't touch. Terrific driving by both of them, and they both came through, but with Michael Schumacher in front and Montoya second. And since then he's tried a few things. The strategy, you'd have to say, looks like it played out really more in Michael Schumacher's favour slightly than it did in Montoya's, but there was really nothing in it. And through the first and second round of pit stops, Michael Schumacher able to maintain his advantage over Montoya. Barrichello, he's done his job this afternoon. 3rd for Ferrari, taking points away from Kimi Räikkönen in the World Championship. Certainly not down to a 2-horse race now, that's for sure, but it's a lot tighter than it was. And Barrichello now coming up behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the man who just got in the way at that very chicane of Juan Montoya at a critical moment when he was closing down Michael Schumacher. And somehow since then, Montoya has not had the speed in the car. Something broke in his spirit, his desire to chase down Michael Schumacher. Who knows? Perhaps there was a technical problem, but either way, he seems to have settled now for 2nd place.
Barrichello's hand coming out of the cockpit saying, get this guy out of my way. I'm in a big fight here with Räikkönen. And he believes, and they passed a lot of blue flag stations, he believes that Frentzen should have just eased off, which he's now doing, and letting them through. I would expect another gesticulation, and indeed he gets one from Rubens Barrichello, who's not at all happy. Man who's driving beautifully in the second part of this race, looked a bit outpaced in the beginning, is Marc Gené in 5th place. He's the only man in the 1:22s, quite a bit quicker now than anybody else. Unfortunately for him, he's 11 seconds adrift of this battle between Barrichello and Räikkönen. The gap down to just 1 second now, and Louise is with David Coulthard.
David, something on your car obviously gave up on you. There, any idea what it was?
Well, clearly it was engine, but not entirely sure whether it was a failure in the engine or whether the electronics, because it didn't tighten and there's no smoke. But it lost what felt like spark, so it could have been a problem at the top end, but it could be electronic as well.
McLaren just didn't seem to have the pace today to keep up with the front runners, the Williams and the Ferraris. Were you surprised at that?
Yeah, after the test, I was surprised because all 3 days the car felt better than it did this weekend. I think both Kimi and myself, during the race there, I was pretty much alone, but I was just driving every lap wondering where the balance had gone that we had. We had a car in the race which had quite a lot of oversteer, which makes it difficult to attack the corners, drop some wing out at the pit stop, and even then it was it was quite oversteery. So track conditions have changed obviously since last week, but something else has moved as well.
Thanks, David.
13 runners left then, 7 out of the Grand Prix, and all 3 Brits that started this race. Ralph Furman not starting, of course, so all 3 Brits now out of it. Coulthard, Wilson and Button have retired. It's not a classic Italian Grand Prix for British Grand Prix drivers, that's for sure.
No, it's not, but it's certainly a day BAR will remember, and Jacques Villeneuve. We haven't hardly seen him at all all afternoon, but if they stay where they are, BAR will be 5th in the World Championship Constructors with 18 points. Jaguar Mark Webber today looks like he's going to score a point in 8th place, and they'll be on 16 points in 6th place. Toyota not scoring here this afternoon, and certainly from Villeneuve's point of view, it's been a terrible year, but he had 3 points going into this Grand Prix, and if he stays where he is now, he'll have another 3. He'll double his tally. And a lot of stories about him for next year. Jacques Villeneuve, he's been telling people he might not be in the car for the Japanese Grand Prix, but it may well just be a bit of grandstanding as the negotiations go on for next year. Certainly quite a lot of Italian sources seem to think that Villeneuve will stay in that team. They're just having a very, very tough negotiation.
It's difficult to know in those circumstances. You don't really know the details, what goes on behind closed doors. And there's all sorts of information and misinformation that's let slip as a negotiating tool, whatever, but quite clearly it's not a done deal yet. Ted is down there.
Yeah, just down at Ferrari. They say they haven't got any concerns about the brake wear on Michael Schumacher's car. Nothing concerning is coming across on the telemetry. But remember how easy Michael is on his brakes. Remember in Canada, the team were amazed that he managed to make them last for the whole of the race. So he will be helping that problem if there is a problem.
He looks pretty comfortable at the moment. Just 2 laps remaining here at Monza as he goes into the second chicane, up over the curbs, picking up the speed down 60 miles an hour on the exit there, up to over 130, then into the Lesmo corners. This is where his brother Ralph had a big accident in testing last week, the one that's put him out of this weekend's Grand Prix. And Michael Schumacher now just over 5 miles away from victory at Monza. It would be his 4th here, and most important of all, certainly as far as Ferrari are concerned, it would give him a breathing space in the World Championship, and it would be his 50th victory for the great Mark. What a milestone that would be, what a party it would be if he can just hold on. He's got 7.5 seconds advantage over Juan Montoya. There is the Colombian. He tried very, very hard in the early stages of the Grand Prix, but he just didn't have enough when it mattered, but I'm sure he'll be bouncing back at Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time. There's Villeneuve, you see, just going through the shot as well. He's a lap down, so next time Michael Schumacher crosses the line, Villeneuve will be safe. And the Ferrari mechanics then all up on the pit wall, ready to celebrate. A little bit prematurely, perhaps. There's still another 3.5 miles to go.
Well, there certainly was a lot of black dust coming out of the Ferrari, but as I say, it depends on the materials of the pads and discs, and it's not always indicative, but I'm sure they're pretty relieved to be able to drop 2.5 seconds a lap now and just coast towards the last sort of 6-7 laps of this Grand Prix as they have done. Now the final one is in front of them. They've got a 7-second advantage. Barrichello maintaining a 1.1 advantage over Raikkonen. So it's a pretty perfect day for Ferrari, isn't it? If they could have just got Barrichello ahead of Montoya, it would have been absolutely perfect. And nonetheless, Michael Schumacher crucially kept the lead, didn't he, on that first lap. That was a key part of the afternoon, so he could stretch it out and make Montoya be the man who had to do the work. He had track position, controlled the race, and never looked flustered, even when Montoya was really closing him down, sometimes 3/4 of a second per lap. Looking forward to the press conference to understand why, what broke Montoya's rhythm, spirit, or whatever it was.
Just listen then to the crowd as Michael Schumacher comes out of the Parabolica. Yes! He punched the air yesterday when he got pole position. That was part of the job done. But this afternoon, he has absolutely done the business. He's fended off Juan Montoya. And let's face it, it was a stiff challenge. Michael Schumacher wins at Monza, the 4th time he has won here in a Ferrari. And it's his 50th victory for the Italian Mark. And what an important one.
Yes, it's win number 69 overall for him. And, I think you're right, James, one of the more important ones. I mean, he really has been under pressure. Lapped at the last Grand Prix, nowhere off the pace, totally off the pace, really. Looking It's probably one of his most lacklustre Grand Prix, actually, the Hungarian Grand Prix 3 weeks ago. But today was certainly one of his most mature and inspired drive. He fought his corner when he had to, and certainly a great start. Good pit stops from the team. Tremendous reliability, as we've come to expect now from Ferrari and Williams, with McLaren always just seeming to have a little gremlin every so often that's holding them back. So for the Constructors' Championship, it's still now looking very close between McLaren and Williams, with Ferrari and Williams and McLaren just fading slightly.
Nice little gesture there as Villeneuve went past him. He's in a good mood as he's picked up 6th place today. Nice little congratulatory wave to Michael Schumacher. Yeah, Williams then in the Constructors, we think 141 points ahead of Ferrari's 137 with 2 Grand Prix to go. So both championships very, very hotly contested. Rubens Barrichello picking up the final podium position. Kimi Raikkonen pushed as hard as he could with the equipment he was given. McLaren believe they'll be stronger at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time, and at Suzuka they've got aerodynamic changes on this. He's the only man, let's face it, racing last year's car effectively, and there you could see the man from Bridgestone very, very happy and relieved, because they've taken quite a lot of heat over the summer. One of the Minardis there just smoking away nicely, but just as much relief then for Bridgestone as there is for Ferrari and Michael Schumacher after the summer drought.
I wonder if this tyre issue is going to fade away. De Montezemolo still not absolutely giving clarity that he wouldn't try and seek some kind of retrospective action for. Even this morning, he wouldn't say, "Hey, no, we're you know, the tyre issue's gone away." Quite a bit of friction behind the scenes on that one, but this might just take some of that heat out. Michael Schumacher wins in the end by 5 seconds then, but he just coasted the last lap. Barrichello keeping a fraction ahead, 9/10 ahead of Raikkonen. Genet with a very good drive to 5th place, and Villeneuve, you have to say, spirited run to 6th.
Well, let's see if we can find out what happened with Montoya, because Ted is now with Patrick Head.
Juan Pablo was so close after the last stops. Why did he back off, back away? What lost it for him?
Well, I think it was initiated by Frentzen holding him up for a second. I really don't know. You know, when you get down to this stage in a championship, the others really should respect the people that are fighting for the championship. But then I don't know quite what happened. He was talking about the last set of tyres to his engineer, so maybe he had a problem, I don't know. But there was no actual technical problem. But whatever it is, anyway, we've gone back 2 points relative to Michael. 3 points behind him with 20 points on the table for each driver. Still a lot to play for.
So it looks like it was traffic that lost him the time.
Certainly traffic put it back to begin with, but he obviously then had a bit of a problem beyond that, because he was actually going nearly a second a lap slower than Marc Genet for about 8 or 10 laps.
Where does this leave him in the championship?
Well, I'm not a great one for keeping the numbers, but I know he was 1 point behind Michael before, so he must be 3 points behind, and as I say, with 20 points to play for, it's still wide open.
Thanks very much, Patrick.
Yeah, a bit of a dispirited Patrick Head there. I think clearly he too felt that Frentzen broke the rhythm there. But nonetheless, would he, if he'd have caught him, would he have passed him? Did he have enough straight line speed? We're all pretty sure if he'd have got anywhere near him into a braking zone, he had the better car under braking. But Michael didn't make any mistakes.
Certainly didn't. Big hug there from Ross Brawn, you saw down there in the Parc Fermé area. And that is a terribly, terribly good day for everybody involved with the Ferrari team. We've seen that picture a few times this weekend, haven't we? But as Patrick Head says, just 3 points between Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya. 20 points available at Indianapolis 2 weeks from now, and at Suzuka, Japan 2 weeks after that. Certainly the feeling that Williams might be the better car at Indianapolis, that perhaps Ferrari and Bridgestone on their home track in Japan might have the edge. So it would be a very brave man who would predict the outcome of this World Championship, even though this has given Michael Schumacher a bit more of a breathing space.
And if we get a wet race, I think clearly Bridgestones have a head start in that scenario. They have a wider range of wet tyres or wet tyre capabilities, so that could also, you know, a wet Grand Prix I think will definitely throw the dice in Ferrari's favour. Alonso had a bit of a cartoon afternoon, but he still scored a World Championship point in 8th place. Look, a lot of retirements, just 13 finishes. It seems as if Frentzen didn't finish the last lap. He'll still be qualified as a finisher of the Grand Prix. So 7 retirements. Alonso coming in 8th then, but it's Michael Schumacher who's going to get all the points. My driver of the day, though, is Marc Genet. When you're looking at it, he finished 27 seconds off the lead, lost most of that early on in the Grand Prix, and then put in a very sterling performance.
Especially having been thrown into it yesterday morning. He arrived in the paddock, I watched him running in. He was absolutely flying on foot. He just got a call in his hotel room. Get your overalls, chap, you're racing, Ralph's gone home. And from there to here, 5th place. And vital World Championship points for Williams in the Constructors. As you say, a very creditable afternoon. Wow. That is Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn, and a sign of the level of emotional bond between the two of them. It's like lovers in the Monza Park on a Sunday afternoon. Certainly they've achieved a lot together.
Well, they didn't have the less fuel on board, did they, in qualifying? They gambled on that super high top speed, low downforce setup. Michael made it work in the race. Michael could cope with it in the race, and as Montoya could not get near enough to him, it actually all turned out to be very smart, didn't it? It's a tremendous podium here in Monza, where the drivers go right out into the middle, effectively, of the racetrack, looking down on the Tifosi, as we all know it's called, the local crowd here, and it's, I think, a pretty spectacular TV picture.
You want noise? The Italians certainly do noise. Shoo me, they shout, and now the German national anthem. Fantastic achievement. He wins the Italian Grand Prix to go along with his victories back in 1996, the important one here in 2000, when he beat Mika Häkkinen. Gave himself a chance then, having looked as though he was on the back foot, to come back and win that World Championship. You can see how much relief there is at everybody at Ferrari.
One of his hearts sank when he, after the second stop, he saw the Williams beat him under braking into the chicane there, whether the team had told him there were two of them coming up behind him. But, Montoya then, I think he'll be a bit disappointed with that second place today. I think he probably felt he should have won this race this weekend.
There were definitely times, as you said, where he had the fastest car on the racetrack. He just wasn't able to use it when he really needed to get himself in a position to make the attack. It's been a memorable afternoon here at Monza. There's been plenty of history made here down the years. Grand Prix racing here going back well before the Second World War. Today, though, it's 50 up for Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. What a milestone that is.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Martin. They love a touch of red on the podium in these parts. We're going to talk to the top three when they've dried off in the press conference. We have the views of Mark Blundell and Tony Jardine on a very big home win for Ferrari.
The race on ITV, sponsored by Toyota.
Confirmation then of a fourth Italian Grand Prix for Michael Schumacher. Only Nelson Piquet can match that. Juan Pablo Montoya second, 8 points for him. Rubens Barrichello third. Kimi Räikkönen fourth in the McLaren. Marc Genet deservedly Martin's driver of the day in fifth place. Villeneuve, 3 points for him in the BAR, very welcome indeed. Mark Webber getting a couple for Jaguar, and Alonso all sorts of problems, but at least he made his point. And just 3 points in it with 2 races to go. Montoya still putting the heat on Michael Schumacher. Räikkönen has dropped away a little bit, but he still can't be discounted. Ralf Schumacher, of course, did not race today. Barrichello has gone above Alonso by dint of more third place finishes, I believe. David Coulthard 45 points, and Trulli, who went early, stays on 24. And Williams staying on top of the Constructors' Championship. That is so important for them, and they'll give Marc Genet a very big pat on the back for that as well. 4 points clear of Ferrari. McLaren third place on 120. Renault look destined for fourth, don't they? And in that big scrap further down, BAR have 18, Jaguar 17, Toyota 14, Jordan have 11 points, and Sauber have 9. Let's just have a look at the start of the race, shall we? And it was obvious to me, Mark, I mean, Montoya, he was desperate to get in front, and he very nearly did it.
He very nearly did, but yeah, what a great scrap down to the first corner it was. You see him leave the line here. We thought there might be a little bit more energy coming out of the Williams, but the big mishap was at the back there, where there was a car up on 2 wheels, the wrong 2 wheels being at the rear, airborne. But Schumacher then, just watch the replay here, look, big hit there, big impact. One of the Minardis out straight away. Schumacher leads into the first corner. There was no issues for him at all, but this is where Montoya made some ground here. Under braking, comes into that second chicane, gets the inside line, thought he might have it tucked away, but Schumacher just fought back. Great piece of driving by both of them. Very clean. Thought it was going to happen again the next corner, but that was the end of the race really at that point.
Alonso and Verstappen down the back, wasn't it? Was it just simply a case of the Ferrari having too much grunt today?
No, I think it was so close. I think it was one had chosen downforce as opposed to high speed, which Ferrari had gone for, backing everything off, relying on the grip of the tyres through the chicanes. There was nothing in it, and we saw this fascinating contest as Montoya closed in and then the Ferrari pulled away again. It was a battle of the giants.
Let's go straight to the press conference.
Third place to Ferrari's Rubens Barrichello. Second place for BMW Williams Juan Pablo Montoya. And scoring his 5th win of the year for Scuderia Ferrari Marlborough, Michael Schumacher. Michael, this is almost an historic day for you. This is your 50th win also for Ferrari.
Yeah, I think there is many things that come together here. It's quite a while ago we won the last race, first of all. We had tough races behind us. We're not winning, but we failed scoring the points we were thinking to score. And then we had all this summer break and a big push in the team, in the factory, everywhere. Everyone really over the top motivated and giving more than 100% of work, and that's something which is unbelievable. I was able to pay back a little bit with the pole position yesterday, but I think this is one of my greatest days in my career, honestly, and I'm so thankful to everybody in the team, because those guys, they have done a tremendous job. Everybody from the test team, every engineer in the factory, down to the lady who is doing the cleaning job. Everybody is just so fantastic. I'm so in love with all those guys. Just big thank you.
Well, by the end, it was a pretty decisive victory for you, but that opening lap was something to remember as well.
Yeah, it was tight already in the first corner. I had a lock-up into the first corner and almost didn't make the chicane. I had the option to go straight on or make the chicane in a sort of not very good way. I thought it's better to do the chicane, although I may lose a position, which almost happened then because Juan came on the outside, and we had a nice fight through these two corners, very, very hard, but fair, and I think that's what the people love to see. And in the end, I was able to win that fight for me and run up the lead, which was vital to win the race.
Yes, you got a bit of a gap before that first stop, but in the second stint, Juan Pablo got very close to you.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the second stint didn't look as good for us, a little bit better for Juan. But still, we were obviously leading, and in the final stage of even the second stint, I was able to just open up a little bit of a gap because the thing came just back a little bit into my hand, and I think that was crucial. Obviously, then Juan thought to come in early to use the opportunity with his first couple laps to get in front of me. But in our last lap, we were still strong enough to maintain the lead.
Juan Pablo, let's have that first lap from your point of view.
I think it was pretty good. You know, Michael went for the inside, I went for the outside. He, braked quite a bit earlier than me and made a lot of ground. But, when I came out of the chicane, I was a lot tighter than him to make the corner, so I didn't hit him and just had better acceleration. First set of tires, it was okay, but my pace wasn't that good. Lost quite a bit of ground. Then in the second thing, we made a lot of ground. And in the last one, we were pretty close, and then cut the traffic. Twice I lost a lot of time, and then just after this, a second Jordan drive, and I just lost so much time that I said, just pace myself and get to the end.
So you're saying you actually faced bad driving in traffic, or was it just luck of the draw?
Just very slow lap markers that didn't move out of the way. Put it that way. But I think it would have been very hard to pass Michael anyway.
Juan Pablo, BMW Williams have been very strong here over the last 2 years. Not quite as strong today, perhaps. How do you put that in relation to the regulation change we've had over the last week or so?
I don't think it's got anything to do with it. It's, this is a track, is the way it looked the last few races. It seems that, Ferrari is in a bit in our position the last few years, that we struggle in most of the races, came here and we're very strong. Where this year, is paper swap a little bit. We're still very strong, but the battle's here. But I believe in the last two races, road courses, there's normal circuits. This is very low downforce and everything. I think high downforce should be strong again, and McLaren and Renault should be very strong, and we can make the difference there. It's. I think I came out of here with at least loss possible. I knew if I couldn't win, I had to try to finish second, and I did. I only lost 2 points to Michael. I'm 3 points behind him, and. Nothing's over.
Thanks, Juan Pablo. Rubens, you were pretty close to Juan Pablo for a while, but at the end, of course, it was a race almost of defence of third place from Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, to be honest, my first set was the best one. I had a little bit too much understeer to begin with, and I lost time with Trulli. I mean, he seemed to be, he seemed to think that he wanted to pass even Michael at the second chicane, so I lost time, and all of a sudden I almost crashed into him because he had a problem. He slowed down, so I had quite a first lap, and then I was running quite fast. I catch Montoya up, and it was really good. But then since I put my second set of tire, I never been so competitive. The third one was even worse, and I had a little bit of a problem with the rears, and unfortunately, my pace wasn't so fast. It was good enough to hold Kimi, and so I did.
Not quite the quickest Grand Prix ever, by the way, just about a mile an hour. too slow, but Montoya did his best to get by Michael Schumacher. I don't know, looking at it throughout the race, I didn't actually spot an opportunity for him to do so.
No, but that's how close it was, you know. It was the aerodynamics against the downforce. It was Bridgestone against Michelin. And Bridgestone have to be congratulated because they've done so much work to change around their tyres, new construction, new compounds to come here at Monza and help Ferrari do this and give this turnaround. You've got to remember that Williams, BMW have come back from nowhere at the beginning of the year. We'd all written them off, and then came Monte Carlo and so on. They've got themselves right back into this struggle.
And they
3 points between
and they remain right in. Of course, you as a genuine racer, you spotted that moment that when Pablo Montoya was talking about there, when he tried to get by Heinz-Harald Frentzen. He was quite magnanimous in the press conference there. Get the feeling you might just have a word with him in private, though, about that.
I think Frentzen should be spoken to. I mean, what Patrick Head referred to earlier in the programme, that these guys are fighting for the World Championship. You have got a moral obligation out there as a driver who's not in contention to keep your eye on the mirrors and just move aside. Frentzen just didn't do Montoya any favours whatsoever, but what it did do, it just broke his rhythm. It completely broke him in back, and you know the race was gone for him from that point onwards. He could never come back.
That was the moment where, for whatever reason, he said second place will do for me, and of course, just to remind you, second place means he is still only 3 points behind Michael Schumacher as we head for the Indianapolis and the United States Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. We will be back from Monza to wrap up our coverage of the Italian Grand Prix. Let's conclude our BAR weekend by talking to team boss David Richards. Here he is with Lou.
David, sorry to interrupt your ice cream eating, but a bittersweet day for the team, really.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing it. Obviously, the sort of 6th, 7th place was there for the taking, and we don't know yet the cause of Jensen's gearbox problems, but it just got progressively worse. Jacques, by contrast, drove a perfect race, untroubled and unflustered, so yeah, he must feel pleased with himself.
And those points have secured 5th as we stand at the moment in the championship for you.
Yes, that's right. It's moved us into a clear 5th place, and it makes it more difficult for Toyota to catch up with us now, and it really starts to look like it's between ourselves and Jaguar for that 5th place, and 2 races to go.
Well done.
Thank you.
And just 1 point ahead they are, BAR of Jaguar, in that battle for 5th place. Let's get a Ferrari viewpoint now from Ross Brawn.
Well, Ross, have you ever needed or had a victory so well received as that one?
I probably can't remember one. If I did, I can't remember. That was just unbelievable. I mean, up on the rostrum, I've never seen anything like it. And I think the Tifosi have been suffering with us the last few races, and they were able to enjoy it today. And you know, after the pain comes the pleasure. So that was today.
But really, I mean, how much did you need this afternoon?
Oh, a lot. I mean, in terms of the championship, it would have been difficult if we hadn't put the result in today. And I think we had a few races where we haven't really been competitive, and that's hurt. But you know, you could see today we were competitive, and that's a good sign for the rest of the season.
Seemed to be a lot of brake dust coming off Michael's front brakes. Were you concerned about that?
No, we have telemetry that feeds back to the car. We lost the telemetry for a few laps, but the predictions were all okay. So we didn't have any major concerns. Of course, this is a hard braking circuit. We know in Canada we had problems, but we kept it under control.
Think Montoya, did you ever think Montoya might have got past Michael?
Oh, we had a horrible, I didn't realise Gini was in there, and my first thoughts was Montoya was in front of Michael when he came out of the pits, and Michael thought the same. So we had about 10 seconds of agony before we realised what was going on.
James and Martin thought that as well, actually.
Yeah, I don't blame them, because I just didn't realise where Gini had come from.
Well done, Ross.
Fool them all. We'll reconvene in a couple of weeks' time. Look forward to Indianapolis. Be sure to keep in touch on the very popular ITV F1 website, and you can chat live to Martin Brundle, 12:30 Wednesday lunchtime. And Mark is in the frame for Ask the Team. There will be more reaction and analysis from Monza in our highlight show tonight, 11:20 ITV1, repeated ITV2, 7:35 tomorrow. Can't wait for it. Next, the American Grand Prix, qualifying 1 just before midnight on the Friday, qualifying 2 after the Premiership on the Saturday. The Grand Prix, a great time for it, live on Sunday evening. Join us from 6:15, and be sure to make a date as well this Saturday afternoon, the Goodwood Revival meeting. That is now on at 2 o'clock, ITV1 on Saturday. Tuesday night, curtain up for the UEFA Champions League. AC Milan, round the corner from Monza, are champions of Europe. Ferrari and Michael Schumacher have kicked back in great style in their efforts to stay on top of the F1 world. Bye-bye.
Formula One on ITV, sponsored by Toyota.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Toyota is itv.com/F1.